Afternoon, fret friends. Another, what's the word I'm looking for here? I've got no idea. Another slightly strange guitar on the bench again, and a returning client. Just gonna, I'll pull that little screw there. Yeah, returning client, and he only ever brings quite unique or old, vintage, should I say, guitars in. And this one is no exception. And yeah, what can I tell you? I'm best to show you. It's a Hofner. It's going to be 1960s. Lovely looking thing. Just show you some bits on there, that nut for instance. So yeah, what can I tell you about it? Well, not a deal. Because I don't know a lot about it. It says Hofner compensator on there. On here. Whatever that means. Is that the model of the guitar? I've absolutely no idea. Oh right, okay. No. Model, it's a Hofner President, apparently. This masterclass guitar is covered by the guarantee supplied. There you go. It has a serial number 6034. It says Hofner Foreign inside. That's all I know. So why is this in? Well, it's going to need some fretwork. Definitely going to need some fretwork. And this gubbins is falling off. And the owner says the electrics are a bit squiffy, a bit iffy. So what we're going to do is going to remove the electrics. Going to get some switch clean in there, clean everything up. I'm also going to, this screw is threaded. There's nothing for it to screw into. So what I am going to do is, where that hole is for the screw, I'm going to fill it with some epoxy. I'm hopefully going to glue a little piece of wood behind it to give it more, instead of just having the thickness of the body, I'm going to put something behind it so we've got more to screw into. I've not actually researched that yet, I've not looked into it properly, so I don't know exactly what I'm doing yet. It's looking like the body is bowed a little bit because this doesn't sit absolutely flat. So yeah, these switches, I've not looked at what they do yet. That one says treble, that one says rhythm, middle one says nothing. So that'll be for the pickups, obviously, treble, rhythm, maybe it just turns them off and on. Not very good switches, but we need to fix all that anyway. Scratch plate, a lot of gubbins under there, made from, looks like Bakelite type stuff. Doesn't look like plastic, could be plastic, early plastic. I'd go more along the lines of, not epoxy, but something like Perspex type affair. It looks like the bridge itself is movable. I don't think it's, oh no, it's not, it's static. It is on 2 pins that rise higher or lower. So what I'm going to do with this is, we'll plug it in, have a listen, see what I think. If I'm going to ever fiddle about with the electronics, see what I think. Once that's done, I think we can get to removing the strings. We can get this neck checked. We can check the frets and see where we're going to go from there. Andy came in, he says it's going to need a refret. So do what it needs. There's a lot of wear on the frets down there, but it doesn't need a refret, not in my honest opinion. Frets are, there is about 1 millimetre of height on most frets. We don't need to refret this. We're going with fret level. There's me doing myself out of 100 quid there, look. But then again, I'm making it a lot easier for myself by doing a fret level. It's going to be 3 or 4 hours work on this rather than 10, 12, 14 for a refret, so I'm quite happy with that. Doesn't need a refret. So I'm going to go and do the things that I said. I will research this guitar, try and find out some other things about it. Other things I will be doing is making sure that the neck is straight, making sure that the truss rod, if it has one, works. Doesn't appear to have a truss rod. Looking at this. No truss rod. Oh, that's very interesting. That's why it's a thick neck. No truss rod. There's nowhere for a truss rod. There's no adjuster at this end. Okay, so that changes things. We're going to see how straight the neck is. Leave it with me. I will get back with an update and I'll let you know exactly what we are going to do. Okay, we're losing the light, so this is probably my last chance to film tonight, but let me explain what we're going to do with this guitar. Okay, so the neck is not straight. Now, I couldn't determine the scale length on this. It is around about 25 1/4, between 25 1/4 and 25 1/2 inches. So what I've had to do is I've had to slightly butcher this. It's a handmade one. Well, it's not a handmade one, it was a real one originally, but I've altered down this end anyway, so it fits over all of the frets, and we still have a little bit of relief in my neck with the strings loose. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this guitar on my neck jig, and we're going to get it all clamped in, and we're going to get it set straight on the jig. Now, to level these frets, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to remove a nut. Now, that nut is well in, so I'm going to take my time removing that nut because I do not want to replace it. Now, it is possible that I can level these frets without removing the nut, but it does make things a little bit more difficult. I'm going to get the strings off, get this clamped on the neck jig, on the, you remember I built my own Irwine type Stumac neck jig a few years ago. This is going to have to go on there, I've got no choice because the neck still has a little bit of relief in it. There's no truss rod on this neck, unless it's hidden somewhere, and I can't see it being hidden anywhere. So I'm going to presume it has no truss rod. What I really would like to do is to remove that nut, possibly even remove the 0 fret. Then it means it's easier for me to get to these other frets and to level them. But we'll see what we're going to like. I say, I'm going to put it on the jig. We're going to get it straight as we can. I'm going to have a close look at the nut, see what I think about getting it out. I really don't want to get it out and cause any damage. That is going to be the problem. It's a very deep-seated nut. It's been there many, many years. And will it hold up to me giving it some hammer and trying to get it out that way? I don't want to break it and I don't want to lose it because it's a beautiful thing. Look at it. But it is deeply set in there, so hopefully I can just get through the glue and I can work it loose quite easily. Maybe I should get a hairdryer on there, get some heat into it. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's one of those bridges I'm going to cross when I get to it, isn't it? So that's what I'm planning for tonight. I'm also going to go and have a look at the electrics. I'll test them. I'm going to get something plugged in a minute, give them a test. I'm going to remove this plate, get some switch cleaner in there. I'm going to do some research also on the internet to find out exactly what these buttons do. I'm sure they just turn pickups off and on. What the middle one does, I don't know. Maybe it reverses polarity somewhere or something. I've got absolutely no idea. I'd imagine these pots are going to want a little bit of a squirt, but if we can keep that all intact and original, even better. So I'll see what I can find out tonight, and I will come back and give you an update as and when. It is possible I will give more updates tonight because I'm going to be working on it. It's just the light as it is. I'm probably going to have to move the guitar somewhere else. But anyway, we'll stick with it and I'll get back to you soon. Okay, so before I move on, I've been doing a bit of digging, and this guitar is older than I thought it was. I was thinking it was late 60s. It's not. It is earlier than that. In fact, it's late 50s, and it has to be between 57 and 59, because between 57 and 59 was the only time they put these type of electrics on there with the rectangle control plate. What else tells me it's a 59? There's not a truss rod. I think they introduced a truss rod in 1961. The pickups are a lipstick type pickup as well, by the way. So dating this at 1959, so it's older than me. In fact, it's 6 years older than me. It's 61 years old. I'm 55 years old. So that is surprising. There was one on eBay recently, well, it's up there now for £1,300, I believe. That does not have the pick guard. But yeah, another thing that dates it to 59 is the open geared tuners here. We also know with the 3 inlays there. Now, one imperfection I have seen on here is this fret is not cut straight 1 second from the end. So let's have a look. We are 5, 7, 9, 12, 15, 17, 19, 20. Frets 20 and 21 are out of line. These two, you can see it clearly. These two here, this one and this one, they are out of line. Then again, it's not going to make a lot of difference to the playability of it, but we have dated it. It is 1959, which means I'm going to take that little bit more care. Well, I was going to take a lot of care over the job anyway, not any more than I was going to do, but you know what I mean. It does have a chip on the top of the body there. It looks to have been sealed with some super glue or something, so that's nice, but structurally it is in very good condition. So I'm doing exactly what I said I'm going to do. I'm going to get it on the jig. We're going to get the neck straightened. I think I am going to have a go at straightening this neck, which will slightly add to the cost, but I think it's worth doing just to get the neck dead straight with the strings off, because we still have a little bit of relief in there and I would like it straight. I can force it back to straight on the jig, not a problem, but what I'm also going to do is I'm going to get a steel bar across the frets, and we're just going to get a close iron and we're going to rest it on there, just using gentle heat. We're not going to go ballistic at it. We're going to use gentle heat just to get some heat in the wood. And with it being strapped back perfectly straight, won't have to clamp it or anything because it's already going to be clamped straight on the neck. That will basically expand the fibres and straighten the neck out anyway. Once it's cooled down, we can remove it from the jig. That neck will be dead straight. That means I have a straight neck to level the frets with as well. Just having a look at these frets. They are not perfectly lined. They do have a lot of wear. Not a lot of wear. They're quite a bit of wear from fret 12 down to the first fret, but nothing that we can't level out and reprofile. Certainly doesn't need a refret, as the client actually thought it might do. In fact, he didn't think it might do. He says that needs a refret. And I'd look straight away, pull the strings out, I'd look, says I don't need a refret. Plenty of meat on there for us to work with. So I'm going to do exactly what I said earlier in the video. I'm going to get the neck straight. I'm going to get the neck set straight. It's going to cost a little bit more money. I'm going to sort out this. I still don't know exactly what the electrics do. There are more pages I can go and look at. There's quite a few pages on this guitar. The guitar is a Hofner President 1959 model. So that I do know. So that's very, very interesting in itself. But yeah, I'm really thinking getting that neck straight is probably the paramount importance. Anyway, it's the same guitar Andy's bought to me, and the last one had a problem with its body. It was a vintage guitar, and that had a problem with its body. Its body wasn't straight. I did straighten the body out, and I didn't charge him anything for it. I should have charged him 200 quid for that, and I didn't charge him anywhere near that. So we're going to do it right this time round. I'm going to charge what I'm worth, I think. Quite a few of these frets are not lined up properly, looking at them, which is a little bit disappointing. But anyway, got to crack on. Okay guys, different camera angle. I have a guitar strapped to the jig. This is a copy of an original Stumac or Erlewine neck jig. It is a copy, but it's slightly adapted. I've actually got more steel rods in mind than the original Stumac one to give better support along the length. But the reason it's on the jig is the neck is not straight, and we're going to try and straighten this neck. Now, as mentioned before, this does not have a truss rod, this guitar. They don't have them. So what we're going to do is, because it's not got a truss rod, we want to get as straight as we can. I like the neck to be perfectly straight when it's not strung up, and this one isn't. And to show you that, excuse me, I'm going to keep getting in the way of the camera, but I can't avoid that. Anyway, the scale length on this is not a common one. It's actually 25 1/4-ish, or 25 and something. So I've adapted what I made to 25 1/4, and I've had to alter it just so it fits over. But what we're going to do is we're going to place this on the fingerboard, and I don't know if you can see from where you are, but there is still relief in the neck here, especially in this area. So what we're going to do is we're going to force this neck straight, and to force it straight we are going to clamp it in certain areas, and we're going to strap here, and we're going to pull this end down whilst having it supported underneath, and we're going to force it straight. And once it's forced straight, I'm going to attempt to get some steam in there. Now the problem with that is, one, it's an old guitar. It is 1959. That makes it 61 years old. Certainly older than I am. And we don't want to damage anything. We don't want the binding or the fingerboard to pull away from the neck. We don't want the frets to loosen. And we want to basically maintain everything. Well, we want it all being a neck. You know, but what we're going to do is we're going to bend it down that way, and we're going to put some gentle steam in there, or we're just going to heat it up. I'm not going to put steam in, I tell a lie. I'm not going to put steam in there. I'm actually going to heat it up with gentle heat on the top. We're going to put a steel bar across the top of the frets, and I'm going to place an old clothes iron on the top, and I'm going to move it every now and again just to get some heat into the neck. We're not too much heat, but it's going to melt with glue, but heat enough so it basically opens up the fibres in the wood. Once we take the iron away, we're going to let it cool down in the position, and once we unclamp it, it should be straight. It's a process I've used many times before, successfully might I add. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, looking at these frets again, I did say to the owner it doesn't need a refret. It actually looks like it does. Especially, it's going to need at least half a refret. So I'm thinking maybe we should do the lot. And if I do the lot, it'll be a lot easier to straighten this neck with the frets out than it would with them in. just looking at these frets here, they are really deep at this end. So now Andy already knows this is going to be an expensive job. With a refret, it's going to make it even more expensive. It's going to take us up into the area of £400 plus because of all the work we're doing. Let me get in touch with Andy and see where we are, and I will come back. But I'm still going to keep this video. This is all going to make it in the final cut because I am actually going to be still straightening the neck, and I'm thinking, I didn't realise how deep these gouges were in the neck down this end, but they are deep. And if I'm doing it all the way up to the 12th fret, we might as well go whole hog and do the lot. Let me just bring the camera over and show you what I mean. I didn't realise they were this deep, these gouges. I'm going to try and keep the camera on the guitar. Not always easy when you're carrying it by hand, but let's go and have a look at these frets. And these ones are particularly bad. It's got some really deep gouges in this one. Here, and they are really deep, and in these all along here. Can you see? So I'm going to message Andy and see what he says. I'm sure, knowing Andy as I do, he's going to say just do what needs doing, no matter what the cost. It's how he is. So anyway, I'll get back to you later and we'll see how we go on. So until Andy gets back to me, I'm kind of in limbo on this guitar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at the electrics. Why I can't do anything. And these are the old electrics removed, and look at that. There's something about the old electrics that is just gorgeous. I don't know what it is. It's just the soldering looks solid, it always does, and there it is. And there's the switching, the capacitor, a couple of resistors in there doing whatever they do. In fact, there's about 3 in there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ever so gently just remove the dust using an old clothes brush, and just very gently just get in there and see what I can do. I'm going to spray everything with switch cleaner. There's a nice gentle stroke, so there's a lot of dust inside the guitar as well. There's bits of paper floating about and all sorts. I'm going to get some pincers in there shortly and pull out what I can. So there's all this. Now I'm going to get some switch cleaner on here. I'm going to get in as close as I can to where all this dust is, and the rest I think I'm going to have to blow out physically with my breath. And that's not terrible, but there you go, look at all that. Wow. Like I say, this area down here, the hole is stripped, the wood is stripped. I'm going to fill that in with some epoxy, as mentioned before, and we'll create a new hole for us to tap into. The screws are down here on the bench. But that's it. I'm going to have to move off this and go on to something else, because I'm going to leave it on the jig just for this afternoon. And if he hasn't got back to me by this afternoon, I'm going to take the guitar off the jig and I'm going to go and put it back in its case, and we'll set everything up again on another day when I'm able to do so. So just showing how this works, we do have a floating bridge with a floating saddle on here, pretty much similar to, or same as, some of the Gibson hollow bodied guitars. You know, can't think of a type off the top of my head or a model number, but you get the idea. I think this, this goes on this way. We know it goes this way because there's a hole there for the scratch plate to go into there, and we move this and adjust it accordingly to get the intonation more or less right, and we'll move this across to where it needs to be regarding the strings and the neck. So yeah, I know how all that works. We'll just put these bits aside, stick them in a pot as we do. So for now, I'm going to drop off this little one. I'm going to find something else to do. Fortunately, I do have 3 other jobs in the workshop at this time I can go and have a look at, so it's not as if I've got nothing to do. So back later. So Andy got back to me in the nick of time. He's okayed all of the work on this guitar. Basically, yeah, go ahead, get it refretted. He did say before, he says, whatever it needs, just do it. He actually came in thinking it was going to need a refret anyway, so I am going to refret it. So what I'm going to do just now is, I'm going to measure it up for frets. Fret wire looks to be quite chunky, so I think we're going to be going, we're definitely with jumbo fret wire. I'm hoping I can crack on and get, I've got some Syntoms in stock, some medium jumbo, 2.8mm wide. I'm hoping that's going to be the right size, because if it is, I could use that and it saves me having to wade about. And the good thing about it is it's 25% nickel silver, so it's really hard. Right, this is 2.9mm. So if I was going to use, oh, it's 2.8. It is, we'll just be able to use the Syntoms, I'm thinking. We're going to go with the Syntoms. I've got some in stock. Now, this guitar has a bound neck, which means I've got to work inside the binding. I'm not going to work, oh, I don't know, saying that, as I said, a refret before, the binding is right up to the frets are right up to the binding, so this has already had a refret. Let me just tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do it live on camera right here, right now. I'm going to open my Stumac box. I have quite a few Stumac boxes. This one has all of my fretting tools in there. Now what we need to do is we need to be really careful when removing frets, especially older frets. I don't want to be nipping this into the wood. Oh, that's come straight out. It's a great tool this. This is one of the good tools I got from Guitars and Woods in the past. I no longer shop at Guitars and Woods. If you want to know why, check back a few videos or search for it. But anyway, that fret is out. Oh, well, my goodness, these frets are soft. Look at this. What's this? This is a fret I've just taken out, and look at it. I can bend it so easily. It's really, really soft fret wire. I don't know what ratio of nickel silver is in that, but that is really, really soft. So I've removed one fret. I'm just going to have a look at the slot, because I do recut frets. Now, it is cut right through the binding, so we're going to go right up to the edge of the binding with the frets. I do have this saw, which is an 1/2mm kerf, or 0.5mm wide, which is perfect for frets. And I'm just going to clean this out. This may have had a refret before, because someone's cut through the binding. But that is nice. Now the good thing about this is we do have a 0 fret here, and on a 0 fret I do have some 3mm fret wire. I'm going to use that as a 0 fret. So, but the problem with removing this fret is we've got this nut in the way. Now this nut has been in there 61 years. And I don't want to damage anything by tapping it. I don't want to snap the neck by tapping it. I'm just going to get a couple of taps, just try and loosen it out. Just going to ever so slightly loosen it. We're going to try. I'm going to shock it into submission, and I'm going to try and get it out. Don't want to really hit it any harder than that. I'm not liking this at all. This could go wrong. Let me just grab a Stanley blade or a Stanley knife. Let's see, if this does go wrong, I'll be replacing it. If there's any glue in there, it's been there a long, long time. And I'm thinking maybe I could try and get a plier on there. See, the thing is, I can't get the 0 fret out with this nut in. I don't want to knock this nut out and damage anything. I could just take this blade and see if we can get underneath. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get its neck in a vise And I'm going to try and tap it out sideways from this side, because if I do damage it, it's going to be underneath the guitar, you're not going to see it, and I could possibly fill that in with some resin later. So that's going to make more sense. So the neck is going to, the guitar is going to have to come off the jig for me to remove this nut. I'm not going to chance taking it off here. It's going to have to go in a vise, and we're going to have to find a way to get it loosened with this fret not in the way. Probably easier to get. I don't think I can grab. Can I grab it from here? Oh my goodness, look, got it out. Oh, there you go, that's fantastic. Things getting that out, I've got to get another one in. Now again, that's a 0 fret, very worn. I'm going to assume the rest of this is glued in. Like I say, it's been on here 61 years. I think how I would get that out, because it is embedded in the binding. I'm thinking if I just knock that ever so gently, we might free it. How do we do that? That's going to be a challenge getting that out. I could try and get some heat on there. I'm not prepared to knock that any more than I have done. I really don't want to do it, not with a 61-year-old guitar. I need to get in underneath, under here somewhere. So leave this with me, and I'll let you know how I get on. I've had the client on the phone. He's given me the go-ahead to saw through the nut, or in this case a false nut. We're going to saw through it this way, and we're going to collapse it in on itself, and we're going to tidy up the area once it's off. I've already started with a hacksaw, and I'm most of the way through. It is some kind of plastic, an old plastic, because it's 19, like I say, the guitar is 1959. What I need to be careful to do is not to saw through the nut all the way down and get into the wood of the guitar. We're pretty close here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a plier and pinch it in and see what we can do. This is a last resort kind of affair. I would have liked to not to have done this, but I had no choice. It's not free yet because it's still stuck quite fast. So we'll keep going. Be very, very careful, because I don't want to be sawing into the wood of the neck. Getting right close to the base. Nothing is in an area to get a good grip, so I don't think we're quite deep enough with the cut. Very, very stubborn piece of kit. Thing is now, it doesn't matter if I damage it because we are removing it, so I could just take a flat bladed screwdriver and gently tap it from either side, because we are removing it anyway. Like I say, it's a 1959 guitar. That is a stubborn. I really shouldn't stow my chest in the way, should I? So we've taken away a little bit, but it's really not that good, is it? Keep going with the saw, I think. don't want to compromise the neck in any way, shape or form. I think just pinching this together with a pliers, not really, with it being plastic, it's very, very flexible. And like I say, I can't get a grip on there, there's nothing to grip to. So that certainly is glued in. So, Mark just going to stick this in my vise and see what I can do. I don't want to knacker anything up on the edges. I'm going to be very, very careful. I might even try and get some heat in there. So leave it with me, we'll see what we can do. And there we go, guys, and we have got it free. Just sawn a little bit more, snap this side off. We're using my fret pullers, and we've just about, there you go, and it's just free. And there was a lot of glue in there. We've got it out super clean. So I'm going to have to carve a new one. I hope I've got some bone thick enough for this. But it's a zero fret. We're going to have a 0 fret in there. I do have some bone blanks. I think, well, I'm pretty certain I have one deep enough because I bought some 10mm high blanks recently. See what we have in the pot. Failing that, what do we have here? That one's not going to be high enough. This one, I believe, will be high enough. Then again, it may not, but it's only got to be a guide. Just see what we've got there. If not, I'll go buy a piece of blank bone and I'll carve one from scratch. So we have got it out, and that is a big part of the problem. God, in very, very tight. I would have loved to have got it out so we could use it again. Look at the height of that, that's going to be 12-13mm high. Let's go and talk to some luthier friends and see if they've got any bone knocking about for me to use, but it's come out super clean. Really, really happy about that. So that's it. I'm just about wrapping up for the day now. All the frets are out. I need to clean the fingerboard. The nut is out. Let me just show you that now. I've got everything unstrapped. And there you go. I think you can see that the area is beautiful and clean. Where I removed the nut. I've sawn all of the fret slots as well. You'll notice that this must have been refretted in the past because the binding has been cut through. So it has had a refret sometime in the past. So this is not the first refret, but it probably will be the last because the fret wire I'm using will last far longer than this stuff here, which is, let me just show you. There you go, this is a fret wire I've just taken out, and look at this, look how easy it is to bend. Look at that. Really soft. Whereas the stuff I'll be using, there's no way you're going to bend it with your fingers, no way at all, and I'm pretty strong. Anyway, there we go, we're all ready for fretting. Well, we're not all ready for fretting, I'm going to remove the tuners later, because what we're going to do is I'm going to attempt to straighten the neck. I've already explained that briefly earlier in the video, so there's no point me explaining it again. So I'm going to leave this as is for the night. I'll get up in the morning, I'm going to clean the fingerboard, get all the grime and crud off it. I can tell it's been refretted here because I can see where chips areas have been repaired. So whoever did refret this in the past knew what he was doing, and that's fantastic for me. There were no chips when I removed the frets, but the frets more or less fell out, so not a problem at all. But it also means now I've cut these slots and once I've cleaned it all up, it means the frets are going to go in nice and easy. The hardest thing about a refret will be doing these edges and not scratching right into the binding, but I already know how to get around that. So like I say, I'm going to clock off for the evening and see you soon. Okay, that may look a little bit odd to you, but I assure you that that guitar is well strapped to the jig. I have the neck forced straight. Now the neck forced straight by various ways of clamping and strapping. I'm just grabbing a very important tool for this job. So let me explain where we are. Stick the thing there. I'm just going to get in where the camera. Right, there you go. So we have the guitar strapped in, very well supported everywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. It's strapped in by means of one strap. I've got the neck just sticking out. I didn't have this support boss place yet. What I did was I put a strap and a loop. It's called an eye bolt, and we have a strap through the eye bolt. And what we do is we tighten the eye bolt until it brings the neck down to straight. So we've got the neck perfectly straight. And what I've done after that is I've got a strip of, I believe it's 30mm steel by, it's about 30mm by about 3 or 4 millimeters. I've got that clamped to the neck, all supported, and what we're going to do is we're going to get some heat. The neck is now as straight as I can get it, it's dead straight. We've got the neck straight, we're going to get some heat in there now, both sides. The relief is sort of here, a little bit there, but mainly here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a clothes iron, turn the steam setting off. This is the way I straighten necks, it's the way I've always done it, it's always worked. And we're just going to take a steam iron, we're going to put on about half heat. I have a mark there, it tells me it's 2, so I get the max, I'll get the arrow, or the pointer, whatever you want to call it. That's there. So about there, and all we're going to do is I'm going to place the iron on there, and I'm going to leave it 10-15 minute intervals, then I'm going to move it, I'm going to move it back, and then I'm going to come this side. Not going to go over this part, don't need to, that part of the neck is straight. I also don't want to loosen anything near the heel, but we're just going to keep doing that till I've got sufficient heat that I can feel in the wood at the bottom of the neck. Like I say, it's not going to be stupidly hot, just so we get all the wood warm. Once we've got the wood warm, we know the fibres have opened up, I will take the iron away, I'll let it cool down over a matter of a couple of hours, I'll unclamp it, take it off, and we should find that the neck has straightened. Once it has straightened, or I'm quite happy that it's straightened enough, I'm going to re-radius the whole board. We're going to remove probably 1/10 of a millimetre height, I'm going to re-radius the lot, then I'm going to resaw the slots ready for refretting, and all being well, we get a nice clean surface to work with, we get the neck nice and straight, get all the slots done, and we will be ready for refretting. So I've explained what I'm going to do. I may come back now and again. I'm probably going to come back when I've got the neck straight. I'm 100% confident I will get the neck straight. What I don't want to do is, we don't want to get too much heat in there that the glue between the neck, the fingerboard and the neck actually separates. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to keep monitoring it, keep checking it every now and again. It may be an idea for me to just put a small clamp there. I've done that in the past. I think I'm going to do that right now. So with you, you're here, you can see what I'm doing. I'll grab a smaller clamp. I did this on a recent project on another guitar, because I did pretty much the same job. The fingerboard did slightly slip away. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take, I'm going to get back in the way of the camera, sorry about that. I don't really need to get any heat down here anyway, so take the smaller clamp. I'm just going to clamp this end so the fingerboard cannot slide. This actually did happen last time when I had a twisted neck and I was twisting it back the opposite way. So it's probably not going to happen, but you know, let's be, in case of be seen, be safe. Yeah, but let's just make sure. And that is going to hold everything where I need it. And there you go, that's going to work a lot better. So, I'm going to get the iron plugged in, get it on there, heat it up, and we'll see how we are in a while. So I've had some moderate heat in there for just a couple of hours on and off. Lovely heat at the bottom of the neck there, not hot but not cold, so that should have penetrated the fibres. I went as far up as here, and I'm thinking with that back clamped and the heat in there, the wood fibres would have expanded and we'll have that neck straight. I'm still going to leave that as is. Tell one off, I wasn't doing anything anyway, it was just holding the neck together. Everything looks fantastic. So I'm thinking that has probably done the job. I won't know. I'm going to let it cool over an hour or two, but I'm going to come back, get it unclamped and have a look. I'm thinking it would have done the job. I'm just happy that it is straight enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to re-radius the whole board by taking a radius beam and we're just going across the whole neck just to make it perfectly straight. We're not going to be removing anything major, just removing all these sharp bits and all the old clag that's on there from the old frets. Just get it all cleaned up, ready for the new frets. I've never had this job not work before. It is all about, if you're ever getting heat into a neck, you don't want the fingerboard sliding off the neck, so you want to be getting just gentle heat in there. You don't want to be breaking that seal between the neck and the fingerboard with the glue all melting, so just always gentle heat. I mean, you could over time, if you really want to do it with a hot air dryer, but it would take a long time. The best thing to do is fashion some kind of tube over the neck and blow the air in. I've seen good results with that as well, but that is long-winded. It takes a long while and you've got to be monitoring it all the time. This one, all I do is stick the iron on 15 minutes, set an alarm. Once it beeps, come and move the iron and blah, 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 blah. I've done loads of necks over the years. Some really severely twisted ones as well, and I've always got them straight, but you have to be respectful, you have to treat them with care. But anyway, I'm thinking that's going to be alright. Let's come back and have a look, probably tomorrow now. Okay, so overnight, I had the guitar strapped on the jig again. You now see I've released the steel bolts, and that's to show you the result of the work I did last night. And what I did was, I just basically strapped the guitar in, supported the neck in the position it's in, however bent the neck was, and what I've done is, I've gone over with, I've not forced the neck up or down into any position now, just let the neck be natural, like so, supported it with the steel rods underneath, and I took a radius beam to it, 7 1/4 inch radius, some 120 grit paper, and I've just re-radiused the whole board. But not only have I re-radiused it, there was still some relief in this area. So what I've done is I've shaved off a little bit at this end, a little bit at this end, and we've made it straight all the way across the neck. So no truss rod on these, as mentioned before. And what I was trying to do was to get it straight. It's something we do. It's a job we do. You know, when we've got relief in there with the no truss rod, we do take a bit off each end, not too much. And like I say, this has been done before. This has already had a refret because of the cuts in the binding. But this one's already had some material removed off, because I've not removed all of that. And it's quite a bit lower, the binding's a bit lower there. So it's already had a refret, it's already been done. And that's the thing with a non-truss rod neck, it is going to bend with string pressure over the years. Now I'm going to recommend we go with a lighter gauge string on this guitar anyway, to stop that happening in the future. But just let's see where we are. And I think you'll agree, get that straight down the centre, that neck is dead straight. How wonderful is that? So that gives us a straight plane to refret. It's not going to cause any problems anywhere, and that's just fantastic news. So we've got the neck straight, we've got it re-radiused, it's all ready for the frets, beautiful clean surface. Something else I'm going to do, we do have a 0 fret here. I'm going to use the same fret wire along the whole length, but I'm not going to put the 0 fret in yet, and there's a reason for that. I like a 0 fret to be ever so slightly higher than the rest of the frets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refret it up to the first fret, we don't count the 0 fret, and I'm going to level these frets, and once they're level, then I'm going to install the 0 fret, and that will mean the 0 fret is ever so slightly higher than the rest of them, which gives us that clearance we need over the first fret. You can just put them straight in and level them all, it'll still work, but this way you're guaranteed to get no buzz if you put the 0 fret in last after all the rest have been done. I'm also going to be carving a brand new blank nut, or a brand new, it's not a nut is it, it's going to be a guide nut. We just cut slots deeper in that, so the strings it just uses as a guide over the 0 fret. So I'm going to be cutting one from a piece of bone, and that basically is it. So that is what I'm going to be concentrating on today. There's some very, very tiny chips in the fingerboard, only about 5 or 6, but they're not going to need repair because they're not wide enough to stick out of the edge of a fret. So in that case, we don't need to do it. I've also cut the fret slots again. They are all clean. I've taken a brush in there and brushed everything out. So we are more or less ready for refretting. So I've got to basically cut the frets yet. Something I'm going to do in a minute. So that is the plan anyway. That is where I'm at today. So pleased that this neck is now straight. You know, we had to cheat a little bit. Well, it's not cheating, it's what we do. But really pleased about that. The surface is delicious, feels so good. Oh, one thing I need to mention as well. Once I'd done it with a 120 grit, came in with another one with some 400 grit, and just to smooth it all off. So we are now ready for the fret, so I'm going to crack on with that today. I'm just dropping onto one of those small jobs you often don't see, and that is the tuners. And they're holding this, as you can see, this one's really loose, and some of the others are a bit loose as well. And I'm just tightening up these screws just to get the tuning machine stable. And when I've done this, I'm going to be moving on to prepping the frets, or cutting the frets. See, that one's really loose, and now it's beautiful. And now all solid again. So that's going to help with tuning stability. Just everything is in good order. It's in fantastic order, this, for a 61-year-old guitar. It really is. Doesn't it look beautiful? I'm sure you can see what I'm seeing there. Okay, there are some scratches and dings in the back, but wow, this is a solid guitar. Getting back to value, I valued it at about £1,500. That was just a complete guesstimate, by the way. I don't know what it's worth. I've seen some of these go up for £1,100-1,200 in a similar sort of condition. But this, I mean, look at the neck. I don't know what you can see the neck now. That is beautiful and smooth. We do have divots here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had quite a few because I've sanded it down. A few have disappeared. I'm going to leave the divots in. I could, if I wanted to, scrape in there, get some rosewood dust and fill those in and smooth it all off, but it's just extra expense. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave those in there, but this feels beautiful. I'm sure it had nibs originally because it seems that nibs were removed, but I've sanded all that down. Everything is super smooth. You could feel this. It feels like, I don't know what it feels like, it just feels beautiful. It's super smooth. I've cleared all the slots out, recut the slots ready for the new frets. So we need to move on and get all the frets ready. So I'm going to slightly move the guitar out of the way, and I'm going to work in this area and put myself down I went to drop off another job to come back on this because I can't do the other job because I'm waiting for the client to get back to me because I need permission to alter the guitar. I need to chisel a little bit of wood out, and I never work or do a job on anyone's guitar if it means I'm altering anything structurally. So I'm going to wait for him to get back to me. But anyway, I'm going to work in this area. Here's a fret wire, and we're going to need to be cutting these frets and getting them all sized up for each slot. So I'm going to grab some tools. I have 3 boxes of Stumac tools over here, and one contains just fretting tools. It's not that one. Let's have a look in here. There you go. I've got 3 of these full of bits and bobs. Obviously I need to sort everything out and get everything. I'm not going to need these, my fret nippers, tang nippers. I'm not going to need those either. I'm going to need some good cutters. In fact, I'll tell you what, I was in the right box to start with. It's just that the tool wasn't in the box. So here we go. Here you go. That's the cutter I'm looking for. Stumac fret cutters. Flush cutting fret cutters. Absolutely brilliant. These, really sharp. And I'm going to be cutting the frets to size. So let's grab that, grab this, a little fret holder look, just a block of wood with some holes drilled in it, all numbered, so I know which fret is going to go where. And that really is as difficult as it is. So I'm going to start off with 2.8mm 25% nickel silver fret wire. 25% Syntom's Elite. Been using this for a couple of years now, it's fantastic stuff. 2.8mm wide, it should be 1.4mm high. And I'm just going to take this piece and see how many pieces I can get out of this. If I can get the first 3 out of it, I'll be quite happy. 2, 3, easily get a 3 out of there. So I'm just going to, and we are going to have a little bit of overhang. I'm just going to measure and cut. And there you go, that's my first one cut. And that's going to fit in there nicely. I'm going to hang a little bit. I will trim these a little bit more later on, I think. That'll even fit in number 3, but we'll stick that in number 1. Measure twice, cut once. A little bit of overhang, Make sure that one's going to fit. That's going to easily fit. And again, just give it a snip. Measure these 2. The longest one could be number 2. That one number 3. So we've got those 3 cut. And that's it. It's as difficult as it is. Something I'm going to need to do again, I've not mentioned. To get those frets in easier, we're going to need to slightly open up those fret slots. And there's a couple of ways we can do it. Well, there's not, there's one way we can do it. And that's if I find the right tool. Not that many files I hardly use anymore. This is a great little file. Again, I only use this one really for fret work. And we just need to basically just flare open And that just widens that slot, just that little bit at the top there. And it just helps us get that fretting a little bit easier. Now you see it's sat right there. Don't forget I'm going to be hammering most of these in. In fact, I'm probably going to hammer the lot in. This lot's going to be a little bit difficult because I've got nothing to support underneath there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to support under the heel right here. But yeah, that makes it a lot easier. So again, I'm just going to stick these in the right slot. 2, 3, 1. And I'm going to get them all in, all numbered, and I'll leave the last one, I'll put in 25 for the 0 fret there. So I'm going to get these cut, get them ready to go in. Once they're ready, we can come and look at getting these frets in. Using a different bench for hammering the frets in on here today, but the most important thing is getting good support under the neck, under the guitar, so we keep it straight, we keep it level, nothing moves, and we need to make sure we have everything well supported. So each side of the guitar, because it's a bowl back, we are supported with heavy duty folded, it's not even sponge, it's like a yoga mat type affair. We have the heel supported underneath, right under the heel, and we have the correct height under the neck. We have a absolutely solid base there for the whole of the neck. You'll also notice here where the neck overhangs the body, I've jammed in business cards, and we are supported right underneath to this point. It's not going to make any difference on these three, but I can still get something else to jam in there if I need to. I'm not going to need to. Everything's well supported. We have the neck dead straight. The guitar is solid. It is not moving, and I'm going to hammer all of the frets in. I'm going to drop a bead of glue in there, just type 1, regular type 1. I'm not using it as glue, I don't need to stick the frets in. These slots are really quite tight, so I'm using the type 1 just as a gap filler, and that is going to be it. So I'm going to tape up just underneath where these slits are, where someone cut through the binding on a previous refret, and like I said, I'm going to drop a bead of glue in there, just wipe it down between every fret. I'm going to hammer the frets in, so no reason for me to really show me doing that. You know how it's done, but how I hammer frets in is once I've cut that little wider slot in there, made that V in there, we get the slot, we get in, we tap in one side, tap in the other side. Once both sides are tapped down, a couple of light taps in the middle, and the fret should be seated. I'm not happy with how these frets are going in. I've banged 2 in and they really took some hammering to get them in. And maybe it's because I'm on this little bit of overhang here, but I've not got them seated correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'll put some tape, fold it over at the top, and I'm going to do what I normally do in this situation, and I'm going to moisten these fret slots. I'm not having to use glue at all, so I'm going to take some mineral oil and I'm just going to spray the fingerboard, and I'm going to dampen the slots, and I'm going to let that sit overnight and just slightly soften the wood. So I'm going to get it right in the slots there. I've done this a good few times before. Never had a problem with it. These slots are really, really tight. So these 2 frets I'm going to pull at a later date. I'm going to pull in a little while actually. I'm going to cut some new fret wire. I've got plenty of this fret wire in stock, it's a good thing. I've got plenty enough anyway. So I have no choice but to do this. This is going to soften the slots. It smells really nice. That's why I put these little 2 bits of rail up there to stop any oil seeping out the sides. And I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to come back tomorrow. I'm going to start on something else. Okay guys, this is going to take a little bit of explaining. So the guitar, refretting the guitar, I had to order a special tool for this. Well, I didn't have to order it, but this is the tool, and it's a big contraption and it's not built yet. And this is, we've got a sliding neck piece here, and this piece here is the fret press. This old system comes up and down, slides up and down, and we press the frets in using this contraption. Now this is a universal fret pressing system made by GMC in Wales, and we'll get to that a little bit more later on. But this guitar, there are a few problems with fretting this guitar. One being, the fingerboard sits over the body, but we can't get under the fingerboard to support it. So I've supported this with a stack of business cards underneath. Now we're going to be using the pressing system to get the frets in, pressing them in one at a time, as you obviously would. But the thing is with these fret slots here, now I've got to fix this chipping area here anyway. We've got a little bit more to do because when I pour a fret and pull it out, it rips some more chips out. So I've got to repair that anyway, which I'll do in a bit. But these fret slots are really quite fine, and I don't want to make them wider. So what I'm doing is my fret wire, standard fret wire, 1/2 mil wide, 2.8 mil. It's 2.8 mil wide. So 1.4 high on the crown there, and 2.8 mil wide the actual fret itself. But the tangs inside, it's a standard 1/2 mil, but the tangs, the bits that stick out and grip inside the wood, are too wide. The barbs we're looking at, let me show you what I mean. These barbs here stick out too much, so we need to remove the barbs. And I have a tool for doing that, and I've just bought it. And it's from Stumac, and it cost me about 75, 80 quid. And this is it here. And that's it. And let me just show how this thing works. And we have a pair of files here, and we've got a spacer between, and we put a feeler gauge inside to make it to the width we want the fret wire to be. And this all, I'll just show you how it works, that all just comes apart. We put the thing in there as a spacer. I've knackered it all up, made it go all wrong. But it does all work properly. It's a great piece of kit. And once we've done that, we've created that gap there. This instance, it is 0.26 millimeters. Sorry, 0.26. Is it quarter of a mil? I'm not sure what it is now. I'll tell you in a second. I'm going to have to check it out and have a look. Right, 0.026 of an inch. That's 26 thousandths of an inch. I don't know what that is in pounds and pence. You know what I'm saying? I mean in metric, in millimeters. But I've gone down from 30 to 0.28 to 0.028 to 0.026. And what it is a case of just getting your fret wire in there and just filing the barbs off. Like so. It doesn't go that easy when you start off. So I'm going to have to do this with all the fret wire. Still going to have enough of a barb in there to hold. I'm going to do this with the probably first 10 frets, see how we get on, and see if we can get away with just standard fret wire a little bit later on, when we can actually just work on the neck proper. But there you go. But that's done. So that's where we are. I'm going to cut the frets to size. I'm going to make sure the radius is right. It does look long-winded. I'm looking forward to using that there jig, but it's getting this guitar on there stable. But back on, let's get back on the guitar. We'll just show the state of the guitar now I've actually worked on it. We've already re-radiused the fingerboard. I did put a couple of frets in, and they wouldn't go in. I couldn't hammer them in. It wouldn't take. Didn't want to be hammering over the body. It just wouldn't work. So I pulled them out. So I've got some more chipping to repair on these first two, which I'm going to do in a minute. But you see, the fingerboard has been re-radiused. It's as smooth as we're going to get it, and as good as we. Oh, it's good. I mean, come on, let's be honest. It looks fantastic. But I'm just prepping to do the refret. I'm likely going to do the refret tomorrow. I may get some done today. It's Sunday. You know I don't work Sundays, but I took yesterday off. I had a big thing on at church yesterday, an online thing, and it took up half my day. So I decided to have yesterday off. So I am working today. I took my Sabbath yesterday regarding paid work. So I am going to get this prepped again for the frets. There's a chip there as well I've got to repair. Once that's done, I've already shown you how I'm working the fret wire. I'm going to get the barbs filed down on those. We're going to get this re-radiused. I've got my radius tool just here. And I will probably straighten and re-radius the fret wire. Let's have a look, see where we are with this. Just to remove any inconsistencies in this. I don't want to radius it too much. so you don't want to get any sharper than it is, just to remove any inconsistency we've got when we're running it through there, and that is just gonna round it off nicely. I think you can see that. We'll go through both ways. There you go, and that will give us a nice, that's giving us a nice radius. And now we've got that uniform radius again. So we'll just sit it over the guitar. And that's probably not radius quite enough yet. So what we're going to do is, again, I'm just going to turn it down, and we're going to keep re-radiusing until we're just tighter. I'm going to start that end off, pull it out, start the other end off, pull it out, and then we're just going to run it through like so. I'm going to go that way, then we're going to go this way, and we're just going to keep checking the radius. You just see, again, we're not radiused enough, you see. So again, loosen just a little bit and just keep going. And again, just keep, I'll bring it back that way, restart from this end. There you go, and it's just a matter of bringing it through and keep checking. I'm still not radiused enough. So again, bring it down a bit more. We always want to go a little bit tighter than the actual radius. Now that is going to be tight. There you go, I think we're definitely there with that one. If we've gone too much, I can always bring it back, but I'm thinking there, let's bring it over so I can check it on the actual radius. And there you go, we're slightly over radius here, which is brilliant, because I want it slightly over radius, and we're going to press it in. Now, I don't want it too over radius because I don't want it springing straight back, but I think that is definitely going to work. I may just take this back just a tad. So I'm thinking if we just, so always there's very, very minor adjustments on this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to radius it back. And we're going to just slightly straighten this up again, and then we're going to go again. And this will always bring the radius back consistent. Check again, because I just want a very, very slightly over radius. Now that is slightly under again. So again, minor adjustments, tiny turn there. And I think this is going to be absolutely bang on this time. We started that side, we'll come and start this side. And I think this is going to take us, there you go, and that's taken us just where we want to be. Ever so slightly over radius, that is beautiful. That is the radius we're going to go with on the fret wire. I will check the stuff I've not touched yet. That's what we're going with, and that's how it comes stock. So a stock wire needs radiusing quite a bit more. I'm not going to radius it yet because I want to get the barbs a little bit thinner, but that is looking absolutely fine. Still got enough on the barb there to hold in. And that is looking really good, quite pleased with that. I will be super gluing the frets in. I don't often use super glue, but in this case I'm going to. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get some wood dust, some rosewood dust. I'm going to fill these slots in. We will go with, we'll stick some silicone in the slots as we do, as is normal. I've shown you all this before. Big job, this one. It's one of these jobs where the tools have cost me more than I'm getting paid to do the job. But I kind of knew that. I was going to buy that jig anyway at some point. So it's not really any great shakes. But here we go, some 1/2 mm wide silicone in the slot. Press it in the slot there. That's going to stop us getting any glue and dust in the slot. That is a really thin slot. Let's just have a look where we are. I've got a 1/2 mm, exactly 1/2 mm curve saw. think you've seen, I've shown this in depth before. There you go, we are now in the slot. And there you go, we're going to pack the slot with the silicone. Fold it over, metal it over me to fill these little chips here. Going to get them done. Once they're done, we'll come back, we'll do a test run. I'll get the jig set up. We'll go in a little bit closer and see how the thing works. I think it's going to take a little bit to get used to. This is the first job on there anyway, but you may as well come and learn with me, and we'll get it done together. Back soon. And here is how the system works, and once we've got the guitar, I won't say strapped in because it doesn't need to be strapped in. You've got this little platform there with some extra rubber and cork to support the neck. You then bring this up underneath the neck, so that's a neck fully supported underneath. We also have supports under the body that fit to the unit itself, and this part slides backwards and forwards on a runner with the whole guitar in place, like I'll show you, like this. And so as long as you keep it straight, you line up the fret. I know it's a little bit long-winded because you're lining up every fret, but once we checked we're lined up, which we seem to be, because there's no grooves on this press, on these coils. Once you're lined up, you lock the guitar in place. Let me just wind this back up. So this stanchion is locked by means of two of these, one at that side, one this far side here. These two screws, then we're locked underneath both sides and on the top both sides, so this can't move. So pressing a fret in is, once you've got a fret positioned, like I have here, like fret number 15, tap both sides in, both edges, then it's just to press the fret in, it's just a matter of winding down and letting the press hopefully do the work. Now, I may need to support this body a little bit more underneath, because what I've done there, I've got the stanchion too high. So again, it's a matter of, I'll do this live on camera. It is very long-winded to get it set right, but once it's set right, we can press all of the frets in. So I'm going to drop that about that yay far, another 5 or 10 mil. Cracking, I've gone tight with that one. Don't have any strength sometimes. But you see how it works. Now I would like that body to be supported more underneath, so I'm actually going to do that. You do get extra blocks, get extra support anyway. But you see how the system works. I think we're too low there, are we? Yeah, we're too low there, definitely. So let's go. I thought we'd have been okay where we were, but let's just go, for argument's sake. That's going to be about right. And again, this side, again, that's going to be about right. It's all about getting everything well supported underneath as well, I think. Like I say, I'm learning this. That rattling gets on your wick, doesn't it? That's the actual core rattling there. So I'm just locking the ones underneath. The ones on top, I don't think are mega important, but I'm going to drop them in place anyway. But all being well, if you've got your guitar level, you're not going to need to move anything else. It's just a matter of sliding backwards and forwards. You're bored yet, guys? This piece of kit has cost me 450 quid with postage, so not cheap. but we're not seeing it used to its full extent. This is going to be absolutely fantastic for acoustic guitars with the sound hole, because you've got a special bracket that fits on here that supports underneath the sound hole. So it's going to save you won't have to have a frets in or anything. But anyway, let's just have a look here. I'm not happy about having to press down on that, so I'm actually going to get the heel support. I do have a heel support that came in the box. It may be too high for what it is, where it is at the moment, but let's have a look. Yeah. It's just a nadger too high. Let's go it right. Okay, so let's have a look, see where we are by means of other blocks. Because you do get a right load of gear with this. Okay, let's have a look at this kind of idea. Like I say, you get plenty of support brackets and all sorts of gubbins. And again, that's just a little bit too low. Let's have a look here, see if we can get in there. Right, let's take this off there. It will work, bear with me. And there you go. And that is that gubbins there, and we're just basically just going to support underneath there. Again, bring that doesn't fit. Oh, okay. Yeah, that doesn't fit under there. Okay, I get it. We're going to need something better than this. I'm wondering. So that doesn't actually work. I'm going to use another device. I'm going to actually fashion something under there. And I'll see why. Okay, that is almost there. I'll tell you what we are going to do. We're going to go even better than that. We're going to use something else. Bear with me, I'm just fashioning something. This with a piece of rubber underneath, and we're just going to cram this in the centre, right under the heel there, pull it back, and that's going to give us the support I need under the heel. So again, line up. Okay, it looks a little bit, you know, maybe there's more tools we can buy, maybe it's something an oversight on the builder's part, but it will do. In future I will get the neck just of the guitar just that little bit higher, but that is now the heel supported. We've got the neck where we need it, and we should just be able to press this fret in now. Let's make sure we're lined up properly, because like I say, and that, friends, looks pretty good. That looks pressed into me. Just checking. No, that's absolutely fine. Let me get a light on there. That one is pressed in. Really quite simple. Oh, that light was on. Okay, that's been on for about 3 weeks. That'll definitely need charging up. Yep, and that's it. That's the first one pressed in, and that has done its job. That's what we bought it for. Okay, we weren't quite central, but we can just drop back again. So it's a matter of, this is just all about learning the mechanism. I think it could have been designed better. I think these coils could have had grooves like the coils I've got for my homemade fret press. Maybe it's something the builder of this could look at in the future. Because you have to make sure these are properly lined up, and that is just a tiny bit off. So that's a bit faff, having to keep lining this up all the time. Well, you know what I'm saying. And that is perfectly lined up, so we're good there. Just I think this could have been done a little bit better. Is that better than hammering them in? Yeah, I think so. I'll move that out of the way. I will build a better support system under the heel. I will actually build something for that. Problem with this is I'm going to take this and remove this, and there you see it's all about getting the guitar comfortable, and that to me is not seated well enough. I'm still going to have to hammer that in. I don't think that is seated that well, so I need to look at this pressing system again and see what I think, but I don't think that's all, that certainly is not all the way in. So that's not working how I want it to. I need to get better support under the heel. So I'll crack on, sort that out, and we'll come back later. Okay, back again. I think I've sorted this out. It is all about creating a stable base and a good a level base and a solid base for pressing, obviously. I knew that anyway. What I've done is I removed this, I've added this extra block in there that again everything screws through as it bolted in place. Could go going down just one more turn just for the body there, and it's all about getting everything straight and supported. So I'm thinking that's just about right. Do need a little bit more support because of the shape of the body or this body underneath. Bear with me. And we're now going to again place the guitar exactly where it should be. So I want to be just behind this last fret there. Body supported. Wobbling a little bit, but not that much, because that fret is nowhere near in right. So a nice solid base, or as solid as we're going to get it. It's just because this is an awkward shaped guitar as well, but we have everything set where it needs to be now. Let's make sure everything's straight. And that looks pretty good. Then we've got to set this arm again, so I'm going to move this up to where we want it, or more or less up to where we want it. It is a little bit faff getting used to using this, but that looks pretty close. Then we've got to set this again. So what we're going to do is, I think I've just set it on these two. Okay, that's too far. Let's go about, I'm thinking about there, be right. And this side about there. Maybe a little bit too high there. Doesn't seem like it's central, this to me. It's certainly not central. Maybe I need to move that across there like so. That certainly looks better. It's all about getting that solid base. Is that going to be enough to press in? Should be now. I personally think this is a lot of faff. I think it could have been made better for what you're paying for it. So I've just got those up hand tight this time. Not go mental tight like I did the time before. We'll tighten these up underneath. It's important not to get these black ones too tight. They just need to be held on there, like that one is now. And that one there, that's good. The ones underneath, which I'm doing right now, are ones you should be tightening. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Because if this doesn't do what I want it to do, and it's not well supported enough to press frets in, if I'm in fear of snapping the neck, then the tool's no good to me. At all. One down there. Tighten the top one. Do I really need to tighten that bottom one? Probably not. But I will. I think once you've got your level and your neck level, it doesn't matter sliding it backwards and forwards, you don't need to alter anything else, it's all about getting it set up. Is this more faff than my arbor press that I adapted? Yeah, absolutely, but it's all about the results. This is why I've spent 450 quid on this tool. You know, I've struggled over the years, especially with hammering in frets on acoustics. Now what we need to do is get this underneath. The problem with this is it doesn't pivot. I'd like to pivot on here, but it's all about getting the guitar supported under this heel and just there, look, and that is it, and that is now giving us the support we need underneath. I can't get any better than that. I can, however, just turn it till it just starts to raise. And there you go, and that now everything's well supported. And we're just going to slide into position now. Now everything's supported, I'm not happy about pressing harder on that fret. That looks to be exactly where it needs to be. Tighten everything, and this should now work. Position the core, we're in the middle, hold the neck. And we don't want to hear anything snap or break. And I think that is now certainly pressed in properly. And that looks a lot better. So success. That is doing it right. I would like to see better support. Then again, this is a semi-acoustic guitar. It is going to cause us problems. It's why I've removed batang, or some width of batang. So let's have a look. Let's wind it back. Have a look. Now that fret is now seated properly. It's exactly where it needs to be, and we are in. So the fret press has done its job. So now I can get the rest of the frets cut. I would like a little bit more travel on that. Maybe I'm a little bit too high. Maybe I could just drop the guitar just that little bit lower, which I think I will do, you know, because it's quite a bit of faff getting it out now. Anyway, leave it with me. I'll get it all set up. We'll get these frets pressed in. You've seen how the system works. It's okay. It is definitely going to work on acoustic guitars in the future. It's the main reason I bought this big one that does all guitars. If I'm just doing strat necks and stuff, I'm probably better off using my old arbor press version, because again, that's pretty easy to use. But you know, I think it's just take a little bit of getting used to. Once I'm used to it, and I've used it a few times, I think it's going to be spot on. And that's what it's all about. It's not about the cost, it's about the use I get out of it. Is it useful in the workshop? And yes, it absolutely is. It's been a bit of a tall order to get all of these frets in, but this is where this piece of gear works better, when everything is fully supported underneath, like in the area we're at now. And I'm just locking this fret in here, and that one's in. Let me see how it works. I still think these should have grooves in, but they don't. I'm still tapping the frets in after I've pressed them, by the way, because they don't seem to be pressing all the way in. Maybe there's slots. We are quite narrow slots on this one. That sounds a lot more aggressive than it actually is. I'm just basically hitting that with a metal slide. And they're fine, and we're all seated fine. Didn't use glue in the end, totally not necessary. So really pleased with how they've gone in. A bit more awkward at this far end because there's just no support. I'll show you, you'll see what I mean when I take the guitar off a jig, but the support under here is non-existent. So I've had to just press my best I can. This is all bending down. I didn't want to, because we've got a thin body, we can't support it underneath. This has an attachment that sits under the sound hole and sits underneath this bit and pulls it up as you press a fret in, which is great, but this guitar doesn't have a sound hole. And with this being a floating fingerboard, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, last 9 frets are just floating over the body. So not enough leverage in there. We've got them in best we can. They will be absolutely fine once they're all levelled up and everything. I've had to basically lift the guitar in my hand and just tap them in mid-air, but that's absolutely fine. Anyway, I've got one more to do right now, and that's going to be this one, last one, because it fits in the last slot. So I'm just going to make sure we're fully supported under there, which we are. Again, under the heel, we're not going to get even close to the heel. And now the other fret wire, I've not radiused it to the correct radius yet, and I've also not skimmed the tangs or those barbs. I've not thinned the barbs off. Just straighten the end of this piece of wire here, this piece of fret wire. This will be the last one I'm doing tonight because it's gone 6 PM. It's a long time since I've worked on a Sunday. Anyway, this is going to be this one. 0 fret I'll do, but the last one I put in. I mean, chances are I could just tap this in anyway, but I'm just going to show how the mechanism works. And it's lining up, you know, with no grooves on the thing itself. It's about getting lined up. And once you're lined up, it's just pressing in. There you go. You're supposed to close. You're supposed to lock these off every time, like so. So we're in the right place, or are we in the right place? No, that seemed to move forwards just a little bit now. So we're just gonna, again, lining up's the most difficult part of this, I think. Once we're lined up, lock in place, and it's just a matter of just winding down. And this should push the fret all the way in. Should do. And that's as down as it goes. Oops, there you go. And that's supposed to be in. We've got to be, I'll have to make a few adjustments here and there, get used to it a little bit more, but that is, again, you see, it's not pressed all the way in. And that's because I need to adjust this more, and it's a little bit fast. So 500 quid, what do I think? Well, it's a tool I'm going to need in the future. It's certainly going to be worth its weight working on sound holes, or around sound holes. But I've still had to hammer these in. So as it is, I'm not going to say. I've bought it anyway, and I'll be keeping it. Some people have come back with good reports of it. I don't think it's that brilliant, I'll be honest. It's not on this guitar. I'm not saying it's not brilliant at all, or not good at all. On this guitar is a very, very difficult guitar to refret. Like I say, I've had to hammer the frets in anyway. If that was going to come back out, there's a divot on that fret there, so I'm going to whip that one out anyway. I just wanted to show you how we go on. But that is it. I'll get rested in the morning and we'll have a look, see how they're all seated. We'll get them all levelled off, or we'll check the level, make sure we've got everything seated nice. Might do a little bit more work at this far side. They all seem to be seated pretty okay. It's certainly not going to pop out, but back in the morning. So friends, you have seen this neck jig before. It's a copy of the original Stumac guitar jig. for working on necks. I have the Hofner, or the guitar, set on there. Got the neck as straight as I can. Now this neck is not straight, it does undulate, it's up and down in certain areas. So what we do is, we do a straight average, and I get it as straight as I possibly can along most of the length, which I've done. Now, the good thing about this, even though it is not really good, is this guitar, the neck seems to be bent down going toward the bridge, but that's great because it does it from fret 13, but we'd be creating fall away anyway. So this guitar has a natural fall away in it, and that is fantastic because it means I'm going to level all of the frets up to about fret 13 and 14, and from 15, well, from 14, 15 onwards, I'm going to slightly, we're not going to fall level, we're going to go slightly that way towards the body, just create a little bit of fall away. Now the fall away is already there, like I say, which is fantastic, which means I've only really got to level, I want to level up to fret 15. And the sanding beam I'm using, or the leveling beam, is not going to, we'll see where it goes, but I'm thinking maybe even at 13 we'll stop, because it's got a natural fall away from fret 13, which is brilliant, because you're not going to be playing much above fret 13 on this guitar, I'd have thought. But I've more or less levelled this end, and we're just going to grab some marker pen on there. Now the reason, see, the great thing about these frets is they are tall frets, they're 1.4 mil. Now your average frets are about 1.1 mil. So we've got a third of a millimetre extra on these. Now if we have to end up filing all that off to get them level, that's not a problem. And the great thing about that is, we're putting a 0 fret in, and we need the 0 fret to be slightly higher than the rest of them anyway. So you'll notice, if you've got a keen eye, you'll notice I've not put the 0 fret in. And I'm not going to put the 0 fret in. I'm not putting a 0 fret in until I've levelled these to where they want to be. And then the 0 fret is going to automatically be higher than the rest of them, and that's going to give us that action we need above the first fret. So, great guns. Notice there is a piece missing out of this part of the head, so I'm going to look in the box, see if it's in there. I don't think I broke it, I think it must have been gone when I picked the guitar up, but we'll have a look anyway. So anyway, back to levelling. I digress. Levelling beam, Crimson guitars, precision straight edge, 240 grit on the bottom, 400 grit on the top. This is emery cloth or emery board. Already been used quite a few times, but it will still level, lasts ages this stuff. So we're going to go with the 240. We're going to follow the radius. To follow a radius, it might seem like I'm overlapping there, but you're meant to, because you follow the radius of the whole width. It was only if it's a compound radius we stay inside the lines and we do it at an angle. So just going to be levelling the frets. I've not even penned the ones up to 14 and 15. I am hitting 14 and 15, which is great. But all I'm doing is just levelling this back end. So from fret 15 down to fret 1. And, you know, I'm giving it some. I'm removing quite a bit of material because these frets need a proper level. And I've got work to do this side because I've still got pen here. But I'm more concerned with getting up to fret 15 is where I want the consistency and the level, and I want the frets more level, up to about fret 15. I'm not bothered about the fall away area yet, something we're going to create a little bit later on. Now, the tang in here maybe is a little bit wider than the original because we do have a slight back bow in the neck. I'm not worried about that. I'm thinking that the string pull is going to pull that back anyway. If not, we'll have to take the frets out and do them again with some thinner tanged fret wire. But I don't think we're going to have to do that. So I'm going to check the level where we are. Frets always look messy at this stage. Not worried about any of it. Like I say, there's already some natural fall away from fret 13 onwards. So like I say, I'm going to level up to, hopefully level up to fret 15, and we'll create a fall away from 15 onwards. I knew there was going to be a high one there because we're missing pen here. So I'm going to hit that with the file in a minute. But more or less, up to fret 15, we are level. I've not even touched this end yet. So that is very encouraging. So we've got fret 12, which I know is high. Is it high that side? Just a little bit. I am going to hit that with a file. Reason being, this levelling file, fret levelling file, does not mess about. Chris Allsop, I bought this from Chris Allsop on eBay. Precision flat edge, a diamond file. I can't remember what grit it is, but it's fantastic. This will remove material. So if it's a high fret anyway, this will remove the material we need to remove. That has removed material, which is what we're after. Like I say, not really showing these any mercy. We've got plenty of height on these frets, so we haven't got to worry about removing too much material. That is looking pretty good. Still got my work cut out, got a lot of profiling to do on these frets. And back to the fret rocker. That one's still high, fret 13. And that's why we're not touching these two here next to it. So we're going to do fret 13 some hammer again. And now we get into the frets behind it, which is what we were after. And that's good. Happy with that. So again, we're going to pen frets up again. Let's get a new black marker. This one's about run out. I'm going to hit this with the 400. In fact, no, tell a lie. I'm going to hit it with the 240 again, then I'm going to hit it with the 400 straight after, just to remove some of these deeper scratches. Like I say, a lot of work to do yet. I've not done the edges yet. Always do the levelling before I do the edges. Right, that's up to fret 15, so let's see how we go on with that. I can give this a brush if I want. I put a kettle on about an hour ago to make myself a cup of tea, didn't get round to it. I've been on the phone to my GP, well she's been on the phone to me, and that phone's not stopped ringing today. Okay, back with 240. I'm going to go and make myself a cup of tea in a minute. I want these level up to fret 15. And I'm happy with that. Checking 14 because 15 is not being hit. Maybe 15 is that slight bit lower. Maybe I hammered it in a little bit more. But that is saying everything's level there. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to moan about any of this. So these frets are level up to fret 15, which is exactly what I wanted. I'm going to pen the whole lot in a minute. Just so we can check what it's like at this end. I mean, if I have to leave these frets higher just to get a level because this is dipped down a little bit, so be it. Whether that's got fall away at that end or not makes no difference to me. Most people do like a little bit of fall away. I don't add it in as a rule unless people ask for it. But as it's already there, I could possibly remove it. But let's have a look at the state of the frets after fret 15. Okay. On that side, so far so good. So we've got a decent level at this end. That was really high there. We're going to remove some material from that. Problem with this end is I couldn't hammer them in that much because there's nothing underneath supporting. So I'm going to hit these with a file. I have no choice because fret number 22 is as high as a kite. So I'm really going to hammer that one. I'm going to hit that with the file. I'm going to just pen the ones around as well. Otherwise that fret 22 is going to cause us some problems. Let's just mark all the way back to fret 15. Because this is where I'm going to create the fall away. I'm going to give this a clean. I'm going to hammer fret 22 because it is quite a bit higher than the rest of them. Fret 22 is really being hammered. We've not hit fret 23 yet. So only when we hit fret 23 with the file that we know fret 22 is low enough. And like I say, I said it was a mile high. It's not a mile high, we're talking fractions here. Fractions of millimetres. We're now hitting fret 23, which is great, which means 22 is just about where we need it to be. Just that little bit there. Looking pretty good. Just that little bit on 23 there, so let's just check. Yeah, still high there on 22, but rest of 22 is fine. Just that little bit there. So don't be scared of removing material if it warrants it. Like I say, you look at this fret, it looks seated, as well seated as the rest of them do, but the level is saying it isn't. And that is beautiful. So let's now check the frets from 15 onwards. We'll start on 15, we'll start on 14 just to make sure we haven't removed too much of 15, and we haven't because that's level. Now going across this part. So far so good, in fact fantastic. So we have natural fall away here. I haven't done anything. All I've done is I've hit it with the file just to make all these frets level. So we have the frets from 15 down to 24 level. and frets 1 to 15 level. It doesn't mean they're all level across the board, because these ones at the end, 1 to 15 is straight, and from 15 down to 24 it's just dropping down ever so slightly. It's what we call fall away. So one more scoot with the 400 grit. I'm going to do the fall away part first. I could take a shorter leveling beam and just do that fall away part, but I'm not going to use this leveling beam. I'm going to use the same one. And by rights, it shouldn't hit anything beyond 15. If it does, it's still not a problem. It means we've got a level more consistent across the whole length of the neck. Now, because we've got fall away at this end, it means we're not going to get any fret buzz, because these frets are actually going to be a little bit lower than these from 15 onwards, which is fantastic. It means that this end is going to play much better than it normally would. So, again, cleaning my beam, leveling beam. That's a 400 side, just ready for later. So with the 200, I'm gonna mark. I've got fret 15 there. I'm going to take a non-permanent marker, a bit of red pen. I'm going to mark fret 15 just on the side of the binding here, just so I can see where I'm working. More of a reference point for me. And I'm just going to take my time with some 400 grit, and I'm just going to do this end. 240 grit, I can't remember what I said. And that's fantastic. Matt has removed all of the pen from 15 down. It's also 15, 14 and 13. So let's go along the whole lot. And that's brilliant, that's fantastic. So all of the pen has gone. So we have level frets across the board. I'm going to check, see if we still have fall away on that end. Now this is, I don't know what scale length this is. I had to adapt my 25 1/4 homemade one, and I had to cut the notches wider to make it fit. It just fits, so it does give us that straight edge. Still got a little bit of fall away, that's natural in the neck, but now I'm going to place this on all of the frets and just see if we have any fall away on the frets. Now I'm thinking we will have, and we do, we have, oh that's fantastic, we have that little bit of fall away on the frets from probably from fret 17, 18 down. Just a very, very slight fall away. That is fantastic. So again, going to pen these up, and I'm going to finish off with the 400 grit, which will remove some of these scratches and make them easier to polish up after with crown than later. So still a lot of work to do. Just going to hit 15, 14, 13 and 12 just to see where we are. So with the 400 grit, smoother, going to remove this pen. That's all of the marker removed from all of those frets. I'll come a little bit more on this side because I've removed a little bit more from the top that I can see. See, I'm getting to see how much material has been removed, so I just need to hit this side a little bit more, follow the radius, move a little bit more material. And that, my friends, is beautiful. So these frets are all nicely radiused, they're all the same height. We've got a little bit of natural fall away there. We'll finish off 400 grit on these at this end. Sometimes we just have to work within the constraints of what we've got in front of us. for instance, the neck not being straight. It's a 61-year-old guitar. The from fret 14 onwards, they overlap the body. From fret 15 onwards, there's no support. It's like a cantilever type of affair. There's no support under at all, so we've just got to work with what we've got. It's exactly what I've done. So we're going to go fret 15. I'm also going to hit 16, 17 and 18 just to see if it's going to be hitting those. So again, 400 grit just to smooth everything off. Give it a clean. Pen was long on, by the way. I'm just smoothing everything, making sure I can visibly see that those deeper scratches have gone. That, my friends, is leveled, bit of fall away in there. All of the fret tops are silver, the frets are now level, and that is fantastic. That was the job we set out to do. Like I say, we removed some of the deeper scratches by going with 400. It'll make them a lot easier to polish off later. You can hardly see those scratches. Some companies, you know, with a bit harder to remove those. So very, very happy with that. That looks really, really good. So one more final check. Fret level, just checking the frets along the whole length. Shouldn't have anything rocking. Next job is I'm removing these edges and creating the bevels. Maybe an idea. I've got to think about when I create the bevels yet, because am I going to crown first or am I going to bevel first? Can't create the bevels till they've been crowned, so it looks like we're going to do the edges, the bevels, then the crowning. That's the way I'm going to do it. The bevels can be done also after I've done the crowning. So it's a mixture of the two. These frets are beautifully level along the whole length of the neck, which is this part done. Bit of challenge this one because of the shape of the body and everything. So I bought the fret press specifically for this job. Like I say, the fret press cost me 456 quid delivered. It's £455.98 delivered, and it's turned out not to be that good for this job because I couldn't press things enough on this area because of the body, because I didn't want to burst through the body. Now, this is one of those guitars that probably doesn't work under that style of press, but you've got no other way of getting the frets in. I actually held this in my hand and tap these in with a mallet. Once I pressed them in, I tapped them with a mallet, just freestyle, just holding it in the air, so there's no pressure from the back, and just hope that I got them in deep enough. And I have got them in deep enough, and they are solid. It's just a very, very difficult job this one has been. I'm also going to have a problem with doing these edges because it's where I'm going to put the guitar to do it. It's a very awkward guitar to work on this because of its shape, because of its age, because of how brittle and delicate it is as well. So I'm glad I charged him more for this, which I know, well, I had to anyway. But yeah, it's coming out pretty well. So let's move on to the next part. I will see you very shortly. When it comes to filing the edges of the frets and creating the bevels, we have to be very careful. There's lots of jobs you don't see on camera where we have to be very careful. For instance, if I'm filing this and I slip with a file, I could cut into the neck, I could cut into the body, and what have you. Many kinds of things could go wrong. And so we normally tape up areas, and I will be taping up areas very shortly for when I'm hitting things with a file. But when it comes to filing the edges of the frets and getting close to the binding, we don't have to be so careful. But what we do need is, we do need a straight file. And this is a file removed from my edge bevel edge file. I used to have a file, it's a block, and this sits in at 35 degrees and it creates a bevel for you. And there's two blades, there's a 90 degree and a 35. And I thought I prefer to do the bevels by hand because I don't like a 35 degree cut. I like about a 15, 20 degree cut. It gives you more fret to play with. So I've removed this one, and it's perfectly level. It's quite coarse, it removes quite a bit of material, but it does tend to jump, but it does have one safe edge, which is fantastic. And I always make sure I've got the safe edge down, just in case I do hit the body. Now, I normally have this taped up, but because this is so high above the body, and I'm not going right into the binding, I'm only going close. So I remove the main material with this. It's quite a coarse file. And as I place it on the frets, I can see there's a gap between the frets, or between the edge of the binding and the file itself. It means the frets are sticking out. So what I tend to do with this is file until I get close. And it's just a matter of all by hand, just get as close. Not cutting into the binding. I've got a slight angle, so we're also not cutting, we're not cutting to the binding or the neck. And it's just a matter of going up and down. Just getting this really, really close. Now, when it gets to the stage where we're just about to touch the binding, I'll stop. I can still see a gap. We're going to hit the binding anyway. But what we're going to do is we don't want to gouge the binding and we don't want to scratch it. I mean, there will be some slight scratching in there, but we're going to polish all that off later. But there you go, we're just getting right close to the edge there. And I've always found it better to do it this way, by hand, completely. You'll know, or you won't see where you are, I do have the jig now clamped to the table. Clamp this end, so nothing can move, everything's rigid. I've got to be careful around here because of these parts of the bridge, which maybe I could have removed, but I can work around them. And again, we're very, very close here, so just at the slightest angle. I can just see we're hitting the binding now because I saw some white fly off there. And that is it, we're right up to the edge there. I can see where I've slightly hit the binding, not bothered about that. We are going to polish this binding anyway. Now I've done that, you see, I'm going to hit it with a much smoother file, this one. And this is my fret leveling file. And again, I can see a gap, slight angle, just bring everything close. I'm not creating the bevel yet. Getting everything close. And what we don't want, I want to get it so I can't feel the edges of the frets, and that is fantastic. We're still not right up to the edge, we're not right up to the binding. I hope you're noticing there's no bevel on there at all. They are 90 degrees. I'm going to leave it at 90 degrees for a minute. I'm going to move on to my third file, and probably the last file, and this is my Swiss by Valorbe, Swiss made. It has one slightly bent side, but just very fortunately, this side is dead straight. So what I do is, this has got a safe side as well, here. So I get the dead straight side, which is a side Art Glidon, or Valorbe, that is the brand name. And this is dead straight, and this is the one I get close with. And I don't get to get close, I actually will hit the side with. And now we're right up to the edge of the binding. And this is the one where I don't mind hitting the binding with this, because it's such a smooth file, it's not going to scratch as much as polish. Like I say, I will sand and polish the binding anyway once all of this is done. There you go. Not cutting now because we're right up to the edge there. Normally on a removable neck I'd have this in a vise over there, but that is absolutely beautiful. So we're right up, you cannot feel these fret edges now, through the binding. It is, oh, that is so beautiful. Super, super smooth. And that's that side done. A little bit more work here. Make sure I've got flat side down. Yes, I have. I've not found a better way to do this than to do it on this jig. Now, on a removable neck, I can stick it in a vise on the other bench. So this jig may sometimes be a little bit of a pain to get set up, but what a great tool this has been over the years. Something I built myself, based on the original Stumac design. A couple of little alterations to it to make it work better for me. I do have instructions on how to build this Vincent neck jig, but there you go, that's that side done. We've hardly touched the binding at all. Now its binding is old and it's cracked in places and it's discoloured, but those frets are beautiful. I may not even crown, I may not even bevel these. I might just leave them straight and just roll the edges round, because that looks stunning. Grab my brush. I may have to spin this 180 degrees to get to this side and work it better. That's that side. I'm going to put a bevel on here. I'm hoping you can see this side. You might just see it. That is super smooth all the way down. That is beautiful. It's come out better than I thought it would do. Now I may still wolf this edge here, but the discoloration and the marks in it, you know, it gives it that mojo. We've not caused any damage to this area at all, which is always good. Get the same on this side, I'll be well happy. I'd like to leave the aging as much as I can. We are going to be rolling these fret edges over. We are going to also crown them later. Crowning comes after the levelling, then we'll do these fret edges. We're going to roll them around, make them really smooth, and we'll sand over these edges. So I'm reluctant to put too much of a bevel on there. I may go with something like that, just about 5 degrees. That's exactly what I'm going to do. We'll do it all by hand and eye. You can't see what I see, but this inside edge of a file, of an inside edge of the binding there, I can just see a gap. And once I stop seeing that gap at this angle, I move along. So we're going to have a very, very slight bevel, just like, rather than having that 35 degree one, we're going to have something more or less like that. It's going to give us a full width of the neck. Friends, it's fabulous. Just cutting into the top of the binding, right at the very edge. That is absolutely fine. So we have a very, very slight bevel on that. That's as much as I'm going to go. We are going to get full width of the neck to play with. So this guitar is actually going to be better than it was originally. And all I'm going to do now is with my number 4 cut file again, just smooth everything off. I will be rolling over these edges with sandpaper later on, some 400 grit and maybe some 600 grit. But we're just smoothing everything off, making it feel nice. that side done. Like I say, we haven't rolled these over yet. We're not going to roll anything over till we've got the crowns done. So that side is done. That is super smooth. You cannot feel those frets that side. That is beautiful. I was going to say I couldn't do it better myself, but it's myself that did it. That is so nice. Very, very slight bevel. Just going to check we've got a consistent bevel along the whole length. Probably even slightly less at this end, probably only 3 degrees. Not a problem. This guitar is 6 years older than I am. I was born in 1965, this guitar is in 1959. What do you rent to that? So that's it, that side is done. I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. Lots of work in this job. Lots of work in a refret, especially on an old guitar like this, because you want to maintain as much of the original parts or keep everything as original as possible. You've got to work around any damage there is on the guitar. You certainly don't want to damage it anymore. But yeah, beautiful. Really, really pleased with how this is going. Back soon. To work on the other side of the guitar, I've just turned it around 180, well probably 195 degrees, because I've come at an angle, because I can clamp this jig to the bench much easier this way. I've got one clamp there, one clamp here. So same thing again. Just working the opposite side. I've already done a bit this morning, so same old thing. Everything's clamped, so nothing's going to move. It's just same old. Just watching for that gap between the file and the binding. And it's still there, so I use the same 3 files as before. I'll put that little 5 degree bevel in there. And that's going to take me a while. Same 3 files as before. So doing exactly the same thing. Once we've got up to the edge and we've put that little bevel in there, we can come back. The next part of the job is going to be, we're going to get the frets crowned before we round over these beveled edges. No point rounding anything over when we've still got flat tops. We need to get everything shaped right. We already know everything's level. So yeah, so that's the process. It's all coming together nicely. We may get it done today, I don't know. I've got other things to do in the day, but you know, we might just get it done today. Before I move on to the next part, by far the easiest file I use is this one, because I know this is precision flat or precision straight. It's really nice and smooth, and it's really easy to use. And as soon as you stop seeing gaps in this edge here, you know you are straight right up to the binding. See, I've just got that little angle going off there to create that bevel. That's as much bevel as I'm going to have. But this is so easy to use, this file. Just got my hand underneath guiding it so I don't slip. And it's really, really easy. Even there, with just my finger underneath, it's going to give me a guide. It's almost fail-safe. So I will eyeball everything and just make sure that this bevel on this side matches the bevel on this side. And it's a very, very slight bevel. We've got a little bit more on that side. I need to angle this just over just a little bit more. It's about 2 or 3 degrees this side. We're about 5 degrees on this. And it's going to give us, we've got the width of the frets coming right outside to the last 1/4 of a millimetre of the binding. So it's giving us an extra millimetre on each side. So we've got at least an extra 2 millimetres, almost 3 millimetres extra width on these frets, because the bevel is still inside, it's just inside the neck, but it's outside, but it's over the binding. It's nowhere near the actual wood, so that's giving us a lot more fret to work with. And down just a little bit more. And this gives a smooth file as well. I'm still going to go over with my number 4 cut file, which is even smoother than this. I'd say this is probably number, might be 6. And that looks good. And I'm very happy with that. Just check on this side, a little bit more on this side now. Just eyeballing this, that looks really, really good. Really pleased with that. So I'm happy with those bevels. Very slight bevels. We're probably looking 5 degrees each side. I'm going to finish off now with my smoothing file, my number 4 cut. Again, flat side down. Just to remove any extra sharpness that might be on there. Same this side, flat side down. Absolutely fine. I'm still feeling the sharpness on the top of the frets, but we've not rounded those over yet. So the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to crown these frets. Really happy with how they feel at the side. Just going to go ever so slightly. Just give this a wipe, ever so slightly, just over the binding, just to make sure we've not missed anything. We certainly have not. There's a little bit there. But that, my friends, is excellent. You're not going to feel those frets once they're all rounded off, re-crowned and polished. Good job, well done. So we've taped up the fingerboard and the neck, just the frets exposed, and because we've levelled the frets, they are now flat on the top going in this direction. They are now flat where they should be. We should have a crown like that. So we're going to rebuild that crown. We're going to use 2 files to do this. First we're going to use my StuMac Z file, worth its weight in gold. This cost me 125 quid worth every penny. As I tilt it towards you, it's a diamond file. It's got 2 cuts. Where closest to you is a long cut at a shallow angle, and the closest to me is a short cut at a steep angle. Turn it 180 degrees. It's in complete opposite. Short, sharp cut next to you, long, shallow cut next to me. The great thing about this, imagine the file, the cuts on the file are this kind of shape. You've got a shallow one on the left you're looking at, and a deep and a sharp one on the right, and it's longer on the left and shorter on the right. And the opposite side, it's a complete opposite. So the great thing about this file is it'll take material off the edge of a fret each side, more on one side, less on the other. Flip it round, it'll do the same again. It'll rebuild that crown, but one thing it will not do, it will not touch the top of a fret. So because we have them all level, we don't need to alter the level. It will leave a black, I've covered these in black marker, so it will leave a thin black line right down the centre. And once that's done, that's it. We've got them crowned, we've got them, we've kept the level. And what I'll do is I'll finish off with this file, another diamond file, which has got a concave cut in there. Just for rounding it off, removing any burrs and any unevenness. Again, this will only ever so slightly just scrape, if it touches the top, it will just scrape the pen off. Nothing else, it won't remove any height. And this will leave a nice uniform crown along the fret. So we're going to do a lot. And we have to do this before we can do the beveled edges, by the way. There's no point rolling the beveled edges over until we've rebuilt that crown. So, without further ado, I'm going to start. You can't see a lot from where you are because of the angle. But we'll take the file, which is already clean, but we always clean the file before use. Nothing off it. And it's really, really simple. Just follow a radius. You'll notice I've taped up the body of the guitar. We're not going to jab the body anyway. And now what we're going to do is we've done that side, we're going to flip it over 180 degrees. And we have a thin black line down the centre of that fret. A little bit more for good measure. And that is beautiful. So we've rebuilt that crown. Got a nice thin black line down the centre. Clean the file. Again, swap over for the crowning file. Give that a quick wipe. And again, concentrating on the edge, over the top, concentrating on the edge, back over the top, just come in the side there, come in the side that way at a slight angle, and again, and there you go, and that's that one done. And we've still got that thin black line across the top, but that fret is now beautifully crowned. And just to check that everything is absolutely fine, to prove that we've not removed any height, because we still have that thin black line down the centre, we will not get a rot, whereas frets will still be level. And that really is as difficult as it is. Now in the olden days, we wouldn't have had these files. We'd have used a 3-cornered file with ground flat or safe edges. And we'd have used the file and we'd have rolled it over and we'd have created that crown by hand. But nowadays, we don't have to do that with these great tools. So £125 for a file like this to get it to England? Yeah, absolutely. I bought this over a year ago. I must have done 60, probably more than 60, 80, 100 fret jobs with this file, and it's still going strong. A great piece of kit. I spend a lot of money on tools. I spent thousands in the last 3 months. I'm going to do a video on that shortly. But there you go, that's another one done. And now we have that beautiful crown shape at the edges, like that. And I'm going to show you how I roll over those edges in a second. I'm going to get another file out of the drawer. And that's another one done, and that is beautiful. I wish I could show you these. In fact, I will show you. Hang on a minute, I'm going to take a photograph. Going to take a photo. Let me take a photo of the two I've done. And there you go, that's wonderful. You're really going to get to see it now. The two I've done, here are the two frets I've done, that one and that one. These other ones are still covered in black pen, I've not done them yet. And see how they've got a flat top there? But these are beautifully crowned. They have got that beautiful crown shape along the whole length. And you can still see the black line on the top, look. So we've not removed any height. And that shows you the work I am doing right now. These two are done, these others aren't. How wonderful do they look? So I'm going to crack on, get the rest of these done. It's going to take me a while. I'll just hit it again because we've done that one, we've done that one. Beautiful. We're going to check one back. Absolutely fantastic. So let me show you, I did promise to show you how I'm going to do these beveled edges, didn't I? Again, another specialist tool, another one from Stumac. I'll give this one a wipe. I don't know how much this one was, but there you go. Stumac file, and this has a cutting edge, and this is a safe edge and a safe edge. This is a safest edge, it's rounded. And so the only cutting sides are these two long sides, and these are for just rounding over. You see, because we've got a safe edge there, it's not going to cut into anything, and we're just rolling over this edge and roll over this edge, and we'll just go a little bit over the top, and that has rounded off that edge, remove the sharpness. And we're still going to sand these over anyway later when we come to do the polishing. We'll sand these edges over, but how wonderful is that? and it's easier for me to work on the far side than the near side. I work on this other side when I've turned the guitar around, but this will remove those sharp edges and any burrs we've got. And once I get in there with the paper and sand it over, these will be really, really smooth. So again, that's how we finish a fret. You're getting the idea. I've shown you every little piece of the work. They already feel wonderful. And so that's it. I'm going to crack on. This is going to take me quite a while, so I'm going to crack on, get it all done. Once that's done, I'll show you how we go about polishing these frets up. And by polishing, what we do is we're going to remove all of the scratches and we're going to bring them to a beautiful shine. We'll round over these edges again with sandpaper and everything will be super smooth. You won't feel anything down the edge and it will play like a dream. So we will be going with a 0 fret on this guitar, which is how it came. I'll be using the same fret wire. Now this fret wire is 1.4mm high, but I need to make sure that we've lowered this sufficiently for this to make a difference. And I've just measured it, and this fret wire, now I've leveled everything, it's about 1.15mm high. So we've lost 0.25, quarter of a millimetre off here by the looks of that. Which is, let's just have a measure. I'm going to take a measurement. We can't take an exact measurement because we don't have a caliper directly underneath the fret when we measure it on the neck. So we've got 27.3 on that side. Now, that's on the fret. We've got 26.2 off the fret. 27.3 or 27.4. Hang on, it's 27. Just going to measure. We'll try and get this as straight as we can. So in the middle there we've got 27.45, got 26.42 that side, and 27 point, I don't know what it's saying there. Measure again. With the fret 27.4, without the fret 26.5 and 26.2. So about 26.3 against 27.3. So it's saying I don't think it is down to that. It's got to be higher than that. We've got to understand the neck tapers underneath where the fret is. 27.24 off the fret. That's 26.24 off the fret. 27.37 on the fret. So it's 1.15mm high, that fret. And this now being 1.4 because it's not been filed and it won't be filed. When we press that in, it's going to give us a clearance of 0.3, 0.2 to 0.3 over that fret. That is plenty enough for the strings to rest on the 0 fret and to clear the rest of the fret. So that's going to work bang on. I'm going to press this in. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait till I've got all the frets polished. Make sure they're all. I've already been over with fret rocker. Make sure everything's level, which it is. Just going to do that again while the camera is on. What have I done with my fret rocker? Here it is. So everything has been levelled. We already did the bevels. We've filed these edges of the bevels. We've got a very, very slight bevel. Rather it being 35 degrees like that, I've done about 5 degrees. So the really tall frets, if there's not a lot of bevel on there, it gives us a lot more width on the fret. And we're just going to check for rock. And I know we don't rock because I've already been over them. Still a ways to go on this guitar. I am going to be drilling in some side dot markers as part of the job as well, and I've got the electrics to fix yet, so this is going to be one of those where I'm going to work 2, 3, 4 hours a day on it. I'm taking my time, of course, but one very slightly high fret there. I'll sort that out in a moment. That one that's got a black mark on it, so I'd already marked it up for a little bit of levelling. Just going to slide a little over there. Does happen. And that's taking care of that. That's good. There are some inconsistencies in this fretboard from manufacturing, like some spacers are too wide and too narrow in certain places. I'll explain one in a minute. I can't show it you because I've still got the guitar strapped in. But these frets are absolutely fine. Fret 22, the space between fret 22 and 23 here is narrower than 23, 24. Also, these frets here, we've got, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The gap between 11 and 12 is the same as between 12 and 13. This should be narrower, but it's not. It's as wide as that one. So again, spacing, and this one's really narrow next to that. I mean, not some of these frets aren't in straight, but a little bit skew width. So that's maybe how we did them in the 50s. Did I say this is a 59? I'm thinking it's a 57. I'll have to go and check again. I've got it all. I've got a database full of all information about this guitar. But anyway, while I'm here, that one I've just levelled slightly. I just took a little bit off. I'm just going to go over with the crowning file again. And these frets are ready for polishing. Like I say, I won't be putting my 0 fret in until we've got all these polished and make sure everything's level. We're going to round over these sides as well, these edges, even though these are now all been filed. So we've got the bevels here, going to be nice and smooth. Once we've sanded these, they'll be super smooth. You won't feel anything at all. So good job. Little bit, I'm not worried about this. It's just I've not installed a 0 fret before, so I want to make sure there's enough clearance. If not, I'll have to go and buy some taller fret wire and install it in there. But this is exactly the same fret wire as that. It's just we're not shaving anything off here. It's an unpolished piece, but it won't need polishing. There's no scratches on it. It's just been cut from a brand new piece. So that's a good thing about it. So get this pressed in nice, and it's going to give us clearance of about 0.3mm above that fret, which will just be, well, it'll be normal enough. It'll be fantastic. So that's where we are today. I'm going to be going and polishing these frets with 7 different grits of sandpaper, going from 400 grit right up to 2000 grit. I'll be finishing off with extra fine steel wool. I'm not going to show all that. You've seen me do this 100 times. So that's where we are right now. I'll show a little bit of the polishing. I'll probably show the results, and I'll show everything prior to fitting this 0 fret. You can't quite see all the paper I'm using, but I have 6 different grits of sandpaper. In fact, I have 7 grits of sandpaper, and these go in from the most coarse to the most fine. So we have 600, 800, 1000, 1200, 1500, 2000. And I'll go through those 6 grits in a short while, but I'm going to actually prep the frets for polishing. And it might seem odd that I'm prepping them, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is some 400 grits, quite a bit thicker than all the other papers I have, and this is great. But what this will do is all the scratches we had going that way, this will remove them all really, really quickly and easily. And it just makes the frets easier to polish once the main scratches are gone. And they're not completely 100% gone, because this will leave some scratching itself. But it will remove any deep scratches off there. So I'm going to do that, but I'm not actually doing that first. First, I'm going to roll over these edges. You know where the bevels, where we went over with a file and we rounded them off. We're going to round them off even more. And I'm going to take, and this may seem odd because I'm going to use 600 grit, then I'm going to use a 400 grit on the frets. But this is fantastic because this will be used just to roll over these edges and remove any sharpness we have on there. You can also round over these little beveled edges here. Like I say, we haven't got big bevels on here. I've got really, really steep. Gives us more fret to work with. So we need to round these over just to get rid of all that sharpness. It doesn't take long. We get these done before we start working on the tops of the frets. Because all we're going to be polishing when we've done these edges is we're just going to be polishing the tops. Well, the whole of the top, so the inside, the outside and the tops of the frets. But this will do those edges, round them over nicely. And once they're all done, you're not going to feel them. It just brings some balance to them as well. It's going to round them over really nicely, uniformly. And I can already see that they look great. They look fantastic. Just back up the side using the same piece of paper. Once you get off here, you can do 2 at a time. We'll just keep the paper moving. And that's that side done, and they look great, and they're going to feel great. Nicely rounded over, no sharpness there. And I'm going to do this side. Once I've done this side, I'll go over with a 400 grit, as I explained. Remove all the scratches. This will remove any scratching we've got on the top that we've just done with the 600 as well, because we're going to the edges. And once this is done, I will go through with the 6 grits I mentioned. Through 600 through to 2000. It'll remove all the scratches, bring these to a nice shine, and then we'll finish off with steel wool, finest grade steel wool or extra fine. Yeah, wonderful job. So I'm going to crack on with this. It's going to take me a while. I'm actually working 2 guitars at the same time. I've got another one having the same job over on the bench behind. So I've got this paper here, I've got that paper there. I'm going to be doing the 2 jobs, doing the same level on each, which is going to be a challenge for me because it's quite a boring job. It's not my favourite job, but needs must. I'm actually going to be doing 3 of these jobs today. 3 fret polishers. If I've got to do another level then a polish, so I better crack on. The best part of any fretwork job is removing the tape to see how the frets are. And I've still got a bit of fretwork to do on this. I've got to put the 0 fret in, which I've just hammered it in. But I've not shaped it yet. I've not sized it off or anything. I'm going to leave it in as it is. I'm going to put some strings on just to see how it's working, because we don't seem to have a lot of clearance from the top of that to bottom. Now this is 1.4 high, these are 1.22, so it gives us 0.2 millimeters clearance, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. I don't remember ever installing a 0 fret before, so that's the first time. Yeah, the frets look fantastic after the polishing. There's more work to be done on this, Nate. I've got to drill the holes for the inlays, side dot inlays I'm going to put in as well. So we're not done yet. Just clearing off the tape at the side. I'm trying to. Right, okay, we're looking quite good. Frets are in nice. Still feel a little bit of sharpness on that edge here. I'm going to file down that side again. You're always wary when you're working on old guitars of removing too much. I mean, it feels good. Now I can see where we've got excess glue. There's a bit of gunk on there, which is from the tape, because the tape's been on there a while. So we're going to wipe all that off. But yeah, the frets look fantastic. Really, really pleased with that. I think that's well, I'll get away with that. But the fingerboard looks really, really good. So one little concern is this 0 fret, like I said. I've never fitted one before. I'm going to get the knob cut. I'm going to cut some grooves. I'll get that glued in. Well, I can't get glued in. I'll think about it. I may just have to install it and see where we are. And if it doesn't go right, we'll have to take the nut back out and remove that and see how we are. But yeah, looking good. Just going over the fingerboard with some white spirit just to remove the crud from what's left over from the tape. I'm just going to get a little bit more white spirit on a rag or cloth. And I've done all this end. Just coming up to this end of the guitar, and quite a bit of tape residue on there. I may have to scrape some off, may not, we'll see, but we should do it stuff. I've got the 0 fret in now. Doesn't seem to be superseded that side, but I'm going to give it another press in a minute. Could do one of them handheld fret clamping things. I might go buy one in a minute. Right, I'm just going to grab a Stanley blade and scrape that. I will be oiling this neck, fingerboard at some point. Yeah, there you go. It's just tape residue this up. Not any great shakes to remove this. Just don't want to be scratching up the frets. I've just polished. Just basically disintegrating this stuff. We can get a bit on the blade there. Get a bit on my fingers. It's more or less disappearing. It's like goo. Well, like I said, what I want to do with this after all, I've got all this crap off here. We'll oil the fingerboard. Well, we'll oil the fingerboard before we restring it anyway. And there you go, we're losing it all now. So that is a job very, very well done. Beautiful refret. Looks stunning. Very, very good. I'm thinking the slot may not be deep enough for that fret. I'm not quite sure. See, a little bit high this side. That is not going to harm anything, it being high this side, because I'd like the bass strings to have a little bit more height above this first fret anyway. So I think what I am going to do is I'm going to install the, I'm going to find it. It's not so much a 0 fret, the actual nut itself. I think this is the wrong piece of bone blank I've got here. Might be, is it the right one? No, it's not tall enough. I think it may be, oh I know what it'll be in the case. Problem with this workshop, we're struggling for space. I mean, not always. You have to be really, really organised in here. So if I move this just out of the way for a minute. So I mean, you have to be really well organised. Now, I do have an excess of tools because I bought new tools. Like I bought a new fret press, for instance. So the old fret press I used, the adapted arbor press, I no longer need. So I'm going to be selling some stuff. And that should make me some space. Right, there is nothing. What have I done with that? I don't know what I've done with that. I think I'm going to make a nut out of. Okay, let me look at that somewhere, but the good thing is I had more than one. Now where did I put it? Here it is. It should be the one that's high enough. I had two pieces that I bought from some roofing guy on eBay. Is it going to be tall enough? That's going to be tall enough. It's a bit too thick at the moment. That last one might have been right actually. Is it going to be tall enough? It needs to be tall enough just to come to the top of that fret. Now I'm going to have to thin this out. If not, I'm going to go and get another piece of bone. Something I've not considered. Just have a look at this piece again. Yeah, that is the right one. Maybe I've got some pieces bigger than that. If I really needed to, I could build up this area underneath. How tall is that going to be? It's about 2.5 mil. It's just going to be about right. I'm going to thin this piece off, make it fit the slot. I'm going to come back and we're going to check it for a fit because we're going to make it's not going to be a zero nut, it's going to be a nut just with the slots in it, and the strings are going to come over the top of a zero fret and they're going to be guided through this nut here. It's not really a nut, if you know what I mean. So let me go and thin that out and we'll come back. I found the right piece and I've just thinned it down just to make it fit the slot. And this is the piece. Lovely piece of bone, and that's just going to be high enough for all of the strings, just because the strings are going to come down. I mean, really, I could do with building that up ever so slightly. It's only just going to be high enough. There's about 1 millimetre above the zero fret, so that's good. We've got enough there, so I'm going to need to cut this to shape, cut it to width. But that's going to sit in there beautiful, just making sure it fits nice. It fits perfect. It's even angled back at the right angle for the headstock. Just have a look at this side, so that is beautiful. So we're going to get a seamless fit in there. That's going to be really, really nice. So what I need to do is basically cut it to width. I will be cutting the slots off of the guitar. Otherwise, I'm likely to knacker that zero fret. So I'm going to be cutting the slots off the guitar. I'll be cutting the width of the nut anyway. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect fit the size. It will be a perfect fit because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. But yeah, that certainly is a great fit there. So I'm going to crack on with that. I'm not going to show all the intricacies of doing this. I've got a proper spacing rule for cutting the slots, and I'll be chopping this up with a saw just to get it to the right width. It'll be slightly wider than it needs to be. I may just place a little small slither of veneer underneath this when I glue it in, and what I'll do is I'll just I'll pack the edges with some rosewood dust where there are tiny gaps under there, and some super glue, and you won't see the join. This is certainly going to be better than the piece of plastic that was in there originally. So yeah, so I'm going to do some work off camera, and I'll come back and give you an update as and when. How are we doing, guys? So the nut is cut to fit the guitar. I'm just going to do a little bit of rough shaping. I've drawn a line where it's going. I'm just going to shape slightly above that. We don't need to go right down to the line. Like I say, I've cut the width properly and shaped the base. and that's all good. And we're just going to come around this line a little. I'm in the wrong place, I'm behind the camera. I'm behind the camera because I'm obviously filming it. So I'm just going to, there you go, and that's getting pretty close. Final shaping I'll do with a smoother file. But I just need this to get pretty close. As I say, this is going to be a guide knot. It's just going to guide the strings when they come over the 0 fret. So it doesn't have to be perfect shape, but we're going to get it as close as we can. That's looking pretty good. I'll leave as much material on the back as I can because I want as much guidance for the strings as I can, so I'm quite happy with that. That's quite good. Just do a dry fit on the guitar and see what I think. But there you go, that is the shape of the knot. It's been cut to width. I'll just round the edges over once I've got a good fit. And that looks wonderful. You can't really see because I'm over here on the other bench. What I'll do is I'm just going to slightly shape this with a different file. Once I've got it shaped, I'm going to get some grooves cut in, and I'll come back, I'll fit it to the guitar, and I'll come back and I'll show you how it looks fitted. And this is how it looks on the guitar, better from this angle, and it is just above, about 1 millimetre above the 0 fret. 0 fret's in. It's in beautifully as well, pressed right down. It's about 0.25 mil higher than the actual frets. This is the 0, this is the guide. So I've got to cut the guidelines in this now. So I'm just about to space those out with a pencil. Something else I've got to do today as well. I'm going to be drilling the holes for the side dot inlays, which are over here. I believe I ordered 2 mil black. That's just a matter of drilling holes. Now, I may have a problem drilling right down here. I may leave that bit, but there you go. That's what we're going with. It's just some nylon plastic, 2 mil wide. So I'll drill some 2 mil holes. I'll get them all marked out. Drill them as straight as I can from the side. I will have the guitar in a vise while I do it. Should make things a little bit easier. I'll not be going too deep. And hopefully if he's just pushing in, we'll just sand over them a bit, they'll be absolutely fine. They may or may not need some super glue in there. But yeah, getting towards the end of this job, I'm liking that knot I've put in there. I just need to cut them guidelines in there for the strings now. That does look wonderful. Looks very nice indeed. It's the first time I've installed a 0 fret, so I'm hoping this works. If it doesn't quite work, I'm going to have to take the 0 fret out and level these frets again and remove some material from the top. So, not always a straightforward job when you're doing these, but these frets there, yep, they've gone in really well. I'm quite pleased with them. Well, I'm very pleased with them. They do seem to be sticking out a bit. I don't think it's sticking out, it's just because where they're catching on the binding. I will smooth them off again anyway. We'll get this all tickety-boo. So, I'm going to get the string lines marked out on this. I'm not gluing it in yet. Once I'm happy with the string lines, I will put some strings on there. I'll put a tiny dab of glue underneath just in case I need to remove it again. But we'll get the string slots in, put a tiny dab of glue on there, get it strung up, see how we are, and see if everything is going to work. I'm sure everything will be fine. Just about to glue in the knot. I've got everything masked off. I've mixed some epoxy, Z-epoxy in this case. Don't have a 5-minute stuff, I have a 30-minute stuff, so got to get some glue in there and drop off this job for a bit and go and do something else for 30 minutes. Sure I can find something to do. So there we go, just going to get some epoxy in there. Spread it along as much of the length as I can. just in case that this doesn't sit. I don't think it sits totally flush on the base. It has a slight angle. But what we're going to put more glue in there than I need. And we're going to get some squeeze out, which is fine. See what we got. Yeah, we've got plenty in there. Plenty. And I'm just going to drop this in. Yeah, we've got a squeeze out there, that's good. But I'm quite happy to let this sit a little bit higher than it possibly needs to, if need be. Do I have some tissue in here? I always have some tissue in here. So I'm going to let the epoxy do its stuff, and that is to set over time. And I quite like this being a little bit higher than it needs to be. And I think that's good. And we are in. Just need to make sure we've got nothing seeping out where we don't want it. And that looks great. So I'm going to leave that 30-40 minutes, maybe an hour. I made these spreaders out of takeaway pots or takeaway pot lids or something. So I use takeaway pots all the time in this workshop. These drawers over here are 9 takeaway pots, 3 at the back and 2, 4, 6 more, so 9. It needs to fit absolutely perfectly in these drawers. Oh, you probably can't see it from here. Well, you can probably see this one. You know, works really, really well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 3 layers of drawers here, 27 drawers, brilliant. I was given that chest of drawers. It's always been in here. So, I'll leave that to set a while and we'll move on to something else while I'm waiting for it to dry. Okay guys, a job I've never done before, and it is drilling for side dot markers. And I've got 2 in already, really quite simple. What I've done is I've punched little holes where I need them to go, and I'm going to drill very carefully with a 2mm drill bit. Now I only have a big 18-volt hand drill, this gubbin's here, and it's far too heavy duty for what I'm doing, but it's all I have. So put a little depth marker on there. And the good thing about this, it does have a spirit level bubble on the top, so I can get the drill pretty much straight. So it's just a matter of dobbing in there and just being very careful, nice and slow. And drilling a small hole, a 2mm hole, which is absolutely beautiful. And I'll take my 2mm piece of, what I'm doing is every time I install one, taking them and just filing it round just to get a little bit of a point, just so it goes in the hole. I'm not gluing anything in. I'm just pushing them down as far as they'll go, and once they're in, I'm going to cut them shy of the hole, like so. Give them a little tap with the hammer, and once I get close, I'm taking my fret nippers, which should get me right close to where I want to be, giving them a snip, and that is it. And that is more or less flush. All I need to do is just sand over with some 400 grit, like so, and there you go, that's another one in. Now, as much as I'd like to go all the way up the neck with this, I don't think I'm going to be able to, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get the drill bit in at this end, but I will try my best. But this is going really rather well. Quite impressed with anything using a drill the size of a drill I'm using. Take your time. Did you just let one out, Ross? Ross the dog's in here, look. Here he is. I think he's just farted. Did you just fart? Right, mister. Well, you're going to vacate this room, I think. Did you just fart? Come and tell the people here on the camera what you just did. Come here. Did you just show the people? Show them your face. Yeah, they can see you. Did you just do a trump? Well, we hope not. Anyway, back to... that's Ross the dog. He's my best non-human friend, this dog. Apart from Jesus. Anyway, going again. So you see the process, really quite simple. And it's going rather well. It's not the first time I've installed inlays. I think it's the first time I've done... Is it the first time I've done dot inlays? It might not be. I might have done them once before, thinking about it. Because a bloke came once and he wanted dot inlays installing, and there was already dot inlays in it. I said, your eyesight must be bad. That's hilarious. Might have been this bloke. I don't think it was. So these are going in rather well. No complaints. And it's one of my... It's unfair to say special client because you're all special in a way, but Andy is one of these guys. His money's no object with Andy. He goes, if he wants a 1957 Hofner, like this, it's a 1957 Hofner President, we'll buy one. That's it. If he wants a 1963 Rickenbacker or even earlier or whatever, he'll go and buy one. And his guitars, he's bought me, he only seems to bring vintage guitars. They're all kind of special guitars, really, you know, quite rare. And this is no exception. And he's got more for me on the way. It says I've always got guitars I want to bring in for work, which is fantastic. I mean, this is a 1957 Hofner. 1957. How many people get to work on these? These inlays are going nice. I'm going to take a picture for Andy because I like to give him updates. He says he's got a couple of Gretches lined up for when lockdown's over. So no doubt I'll be having those. It's a very nice picture. Yeah, what do you think to that for a picture? I'm sending him that right now. He says I've got a couple of Gretches I bought, can't fetch them yet because of lockdown. He says I'll be fetching them after lockdown. So he's got more for me. Just going to have a little, trying to go for a little, can I get in here? No, I can't. I could probably get in there first one. Oh, I might just do. I could put them at a slight angle. I could get them at a slight angle there. Andy, not mind, as long as they're in. I'm going to be able to do all of this. I'm going to do all of it. I've got two here now. One that needs to come across just a little bit, so I'm just going to... That's a double one for the 12th fret, and that's gone beautiful. This is going very well. Did you let something out, Ross? Ross is down here, he's on the carpet next to me, he looks asleep. He's laying down on the #1 bench. He loves spending time with me, this dog. He's loving it that I'm off work. I'm going back to work next week, Ross. What do you think to that? He'll hate it. He'll be on his own all day. guitar is it's all but done. It's not far off being done. I've done the electrics, refitted those. I couldn't bend the plate round as much as I wanted to, but I had no choice. It's just got to do what it does. They are beautiful. I just need to go down a little bit more with them. I'm going to have a flat side to this file. Just very, very nice indeed. So we have dot markers right up to a 12th fret. They look fantastic. Yeah, Andy will be well impressed with these. Very good. Just check the messages. I've got a few messages happening today. Bought a pickup for my Telecaster. Hand wound by, wow, brilliant. Hand wound by a guy called Eric Schmidt. Smitty custom pickups in Holland there. I think retail at like €95, about 75 quid. I've just picked one up for 25 quid, which is fantastic. So, carrying on with this. I'm doing this completely by eye, all of it. Try and drill one there. Might have to go in at a slight angle, but I'll get it as straight as I can. This might be the last one. We've got to go in at a slight angle. That's gone in nice. I think I can get the others in. I think I will be able to get the others in as well. I prefer to get them in straight, but impossible. Not going to leave a 24th one, 2 double dots. I won't want to get them in there. A little bit too close, but he'll know where that is anyway. I'm thinking, but what we've done here is fantastic. And that is all the holes drilled. So we're getting toward the end of this project. It's been a very, very enjoyable project, this one. Right, I'm just going to snip that off because I'll scratch that a little bit. We're getting toward the end of this project. Thinking all I'm going to need to do in a minute is oil the board and get some strings on. Doesn't seem to want to go in too far. Let me just persuade that. Plier on there. Not too high, otherwise we'll bend it. There you go, that's better. And that, my friends, is the side dot markers installed. Just going to sand that down. Oh, my sandpaper right here. And he's already paid me for this job. He paid me yesterday, so anxious to get it done and get it out. Don't like having stuff knocking about when it's already been paid for. But Andy will be really pleased with the dot markers, as am I. That's very, very good. Can't feel those. Oh, that's great. Really, really pleased with how that's gone. And it will be cock a hoop because he says, "Do you think I put side dot markers in there?" Absolutely. Just going to whiz across this edge with sanding block because these frets are a little bit sharp. Now, the reason you've got a little bit of sharp edges is the binding angles back further than the radius of the new frets. And I didn't want to bend the fret over because it popped out in the middle. So there are very, very slight gaps. I'm just going to take some 400 grit on a sanding block like so. I'm just going to whiz down the edge. Make sure there's nothing sticking out. You've really got to press into them to feel them, but any more I can get rid of, the better. I know more by running a file down there. I've got one flat edge on this file, and if I feel any resistance, just a little bit there. I've got some Scotch-Brite pads I'm just going to run down here with in a minute. But there you go, that feels a lot better. Again, I do have a cloth somewhere. Normally got one to hand. That was completely disappeared. What have I done with that? Have you seen it, Ross? No. You sure you've not seen it, Ross? I'll use this old tea towel here. Just with a little bead of oil just there, just to clean everything up. I just realised that this piece of the neck here has been grafted in like a thingy piece, so I can see the join there. Very hard to fret over this end because it's hanging over the body and there's nothing supporting underneath. So that was the biggest hurdle, I think. But I do believe we are ready to restring this. I'm going to get some mineral oil on the fingerboard first. But yeah, just about ready to go with this one. Just a quick update on the Hofner. Just want to show the dots, side dots I've put in. There you go. Request from the owner. Just can you put my side dots in there? I think they've come out rather well. So I'm really pleased with that. So ready to string the thing up. Just checking there. Looks really good. Yeah, happy with that. So I'm going to get strings out in a minute, get it strung up, and well, saying that, no, I've got to oil the fingerboard first. I'm going to oil the fingerboard, get it strung up, and I'll bring you back in and we'll get it all checked over. And here we are, friends, we are all done. And I'm handling it with care because it is an old guitar. It's a 1957 Hofner President. Can't remember how I know it's a 1957, but I checked everything out. I think it's something to do with this piece that dates it at 1957. So let's remind you of what has been done on this guitar. Well, it came in, the neck was not straight, it was bent backwards, no truss rod on these. So I basically levelled the neck, I re-radiused the fingerboard after taking the frets out, obviously, refretted it, also worked on these electronics to reinforce underneath here so it can hold in properly, and I've put side dot inlays on the side of the neck there. Frets look amazing. If there's one gripe with this, and it's something I couldn't avoid, is a couple of frets in this here seem to be lifting. They're not lifting. What it is, I've got the radius of the board like that, but the binding itself at the edge goes down at a steep angle, so it means the edge of the frets are just nipping over that edge of that binding, and I've rounded them down as much as I can. You can't feel them when you do this, so that's not a problem, but if you bend your hand round like that, you are going to feel it. Now, you're not going to bend your hand round like that because no one plays like that, but it is something I've got to make the owner aware of. I'll let him know when he gets here, but all the frets are seated properly. Something else to put on there, by the way, a new bone. It's a guide nut, it's not a nut as such. The old one, I couldn't get it out without destroying it, so I had to put a new piece of bone in there, hand carved. The zero fret's slightly higher than the rest of the frets, but everything works really well. We have got the neck straight, or as straight as we can. It is just straight, there's no relief in there at all. Nothing I could really do about that because we're just relying on the string pull to set the neck. Like I say, it's no truss rod, but it is all done. And I played it, it sounds fantastic. It really does sound good. It's so jazzy. It's I plugged it in last night. I was playing a bit of blues on it, and my wife said, "God, that's amazing." I said, "Yeah, it does," but it's only really got one sound. I'm not sure this does much. These switches seem to change things a little bit, but they don't. I don't know how to work these controls, but twiddling them about, got some really, just as it is, the tone on this is really nice. But anyway, it is all done. It's been a big project. It's been fun to do. Andy is coming round for it this morning. He'll be pleased as punch. It's cost him a pretty penny though. I mean, it's cost him 400 quid. But beautiful, really pleased with it. So that is it, this project is done, and I'm going to move on to the next one. But before I do, I just need to remind you of my website, which is facebook.com/ng17. That's facebook.com/NGONESEVEN. There's also fretfriend.co.uk, but that is it. So I am Victor, I am your fret friend, and until the next time, as always, God bless you, be good to each other, and I'll see you in the next one.